Get 'em, Jimmy, where low shack at? The bottle's getting empty up the crack and we stacking chips, all of it's what I want. Plus money winners, that's what I'm on. You can say I'm gone. I prefer elevated pub sports radio. Time to get educated, get produced, leave the juice, letting loose with so much abuse that the bookies wanna call a truce. They getting slaughtered. Can't forget Jeff and low baggers in the chat. That's a lethal weapon 'cause we be pubbing.
Rappers, gamblers, punters, hustlers, low baggers. Happy Friday, November 10th to all of you. Thank you for watching Betting with the Bag right here on Pub Sports Radio. What a stack-packed show we have today. A lot of work to do, and a lot of work has gone into it. What a day yesterday. Pimp slap play of the day. Mikey M comes on and sweeps the board in college basketball, 4-0. I only tailed the Portland State spot, and that went up to 10. You know, it opened up at 6.5. We got in at 8.5 or 8. It goes up to 10, and they win outright. And he did sprinkle the money line, the monster that he is. Cab went 1-0 because they were both on St. Mary's. Darryl went 1-0 on that first quarter over in the Pacers game. 6-0 from the guests yesterday. I wasn't as good. I went 4-3 plus 1.08 units, but I'll take it. Hockey was 3-3 plus 0.08 units, and I had Portland State. I'll take it. You know, any day in the black is a good day. I would like it to be bigger, but any day in the black is a good day. Dan Kelly in the house says, I hope that 1-point loss yesterday didn't cost me my Southeast Division winner future. Well, I'm right with you on that, Dan. So I hope it didn't cost us that. We have SJ in the house. Bo Henny ready to get to work. Says, is my boy LJ coming on the show for the NBA action? Yes, he is. But the time for that we have prepared is 1:15 p.m. Eastern. That is in 2 hours and 10 minutes because we have a ton of work to do. We have the 2 conference finals in CFL that take place Saturday to get started. Then we have a 6-game NHL card that we've got to beat up. Then we have North Texas, SMU, Wyoming, UNLV, which rolls into Bobano's best bets in college football. Temple, South Florida starts. Utah, Washington, Oklahoma State, UCF, West Virginia, Oklahoma. We've already heard from CMAC on that spot. And San Diego State, Colorado State. And then Florida Gators and LSU Tigers. So from that point, we roll in the NCAA basketball. Can we fit it all in 2 hours and 10 minutes? We are going to try. And we got big games in NCAA basketball. Arizona, Duke, Virginia, Florida, UCF, Miami, Texas A&M, Ohio State, Yale, Gonzaga, San Diego State, BYU, Tennessee, Wisconsin. And then we close up shop with Memphis, Missouri. Then LJ joins us for a big NBA card. I believe it's 9 games in NBA. So it's going to be a battle of which we can succeed in. Justin McElvey, Stacks play of the day is in. Celtics team total over 120.5. Let's get that up here right now for the Celtics spot. Brooklyn, Boston Celtics at TD Garden. Thank you for always sharing your hard work with us, Justin, my guy. Tori Coker, NCAA men's basketball best bet is Temple first half -3. Temple first half -3. We almost included that game, but I had to cut a couple games from the college basketball because it was just ludicrous, the amount of games that we had. But I love that, Tori, and we'll discuss it. Thank you for sharing that with us. Kong's Clips in the house. We got Sammy Calmer ready to work. There's Mikey M. What a day. What a day by our Mikey M. It was a crucial day for me because Friday is my in-out day with my local. I can't say in-out without thinking about this. Trampy trailer trash chicken, Miramichi, New Brunswick, who said it in their French accent to me. I'll never get over it. You shouldn't get that aroused by somebody battling with the language. I can't even say in-out day without thinking of her. Ron Crawford, spreadsheet play today is in. It is the New Jersey Devils -1 at -115. Wow, Ron. I love it. Let me say that. But good God, Michael McLeod centering that first line because Jack Hughes is not available. Dawson Mercer, whom I love, centering the second line because Nico Hischier is not available. I can't do it. I need those two guys badly because this was a one-line scoring team in the power play. So I'm very interested in this spot. And look, anytime you fade the Washington Capitals, I'll agree with it. But without Hischier and Jack Hughes, it takes enormous balls. Very big balls, Ron Crawford. Dangling balls. UFC best bet from Londo. Pavlovich. KO at plus 115 for our guy Londo. Thank you for sharing that with us, Londo. Let's get that right here. Copied and paste. Billy Friedrich says, shout out to Mike M. You killed those college hoops looks. You must be some sort of a warlock, a good warlock, he says. Major Tom says, bye-bye Oilers. That was laugh out loud. It's not the drive home. What's Kiprios' show on the radio? And the guy, Sam, on that show, he gave out the Oilers minus 4.5. He was telling us, I'm in the car, telling us how badly they're going to smoke the Sharks. They're going to destroy the Sharks. And I was like, God, this guy, I mean, how can you have faith in this hockey? McDavid now has 4 even strength points in 10 games. I mean, sometimes when the snowball effect keeps, the snowball gets bigger and bigger and bigger, even the great Connor McDavid can't stop it. And he gave out Oilers minus 4.5. At that point, when he gave out Oilers minus 4.5 and explained how bad they were going to beat the Sharks, I was like, Sharks might be live. Yeah, Major Tom. Bye-bye, Oilers. There we go. NHL spreadsheet play today going for a 2-week sweep at 8-0, Ron. Spectacular work. And with the Devils, man, big dangly balls. Big dangly balls. J-Dub, Londo, razor sharp picks. Another winning day yesterday. 1-0-1 plus 200 rolling hot. Fat Cat Ninja in the house. Great to see you, Fat Cat. Perk running so nice. Perky. Been watching your action. Perky made a sizable live bet on the Bears last night. Excellent work. J-Dub, serious business. Latsy, 45 says Canucks and over was beautiful. Oilers, not so much. J Smooth, oh shit, said the Oilers cost him 700. Yeah, you got to let them go. Sometimes you got to let teams go. Now, I should let the Leafs go. You could say the exact same thing about me. I'm not doing it. Now, I pray that McCabe will be back tonight. Maybe he won't, but I must fade the Flames. And maybe that's Ron Crawford's idea that he must fade the Capitals even without Hischier and Hughes. Jesse Gomez in the house. Philly Eagle Flyer. Jay Peasy for Sheezy. Troy Torrance. Bears moneyline. DJ Moore 40+ yards. Great job. Eric Jones ready to get to work. There's Von Polo. I'm behind and we got to move forward. But Steve G, Von Polo, Leonard Porch Jr., Real Deal Prime. What a group. Thank you guys for being here. Wine Time Sports in the house. Stimmy OG, BJ, Andrew G, Coin, Bo Henny, Joey Harb. Joey Harb saying Florida and USC games just go over. Both are high, but both should go over. Talk Sports with JT, ready to get to work. We have a great group. The Chosen One. I now follow The Chosen One on Twitter. Rem Most ready to go. Says Vegas minus 500. It is funny. Robert Franklin, Christopher Commentini, Luke Murphy. Said he saw a guy put 10 units on the Oilers last night. Who does that? Who does that? Now I do have a unit and a half on the Leafs, so maybe I'm doing the same thing that I'm pointing and laughing at. But and the Leafs could be in a very similar spot that the Oilers are in, so maybe I should stop laughing. All right, Chosen Ones on the Wolves minus 6.5 and Thunder minus 1.5, minus 2.5. Well, let's get right to work. We have an enormous card to attack here. This is probably the biggest card that we've ever really tried to attack. So we've got to be quick. We've got to be tight. And let me get this here. SJ says, let go of the Isles D. Look, I even live bet that one under 6.5. I also live bet the under 40.5 in the football game. So I put that a little higher. I hear you. Look, my NHL has not been perfect by no means. Last night, 3-3. I lost with the Islanders, Boston under 5.5. Cash with Jets minus 1 very easily. Lost with Avalanche minus 1.5. Lost with the Lightning minus 1.5. Cash with the Rangers minus 120. The Louis Domingue angle, which is just for one game. We don't go back to the well when Louis goes back in net. Louis just beloved in the NHL, and there's certain goaltenders that come in for a game when called upon, and the rest of the room just steps up. And then the Blues minus 112. Their power play now hitting at 2.9%. But come on, the Coyotes is the market. It's crazy. The Coyotes on the road now are a pick'em against. I mean, who other than the Sharks? Should that be any team in the NHL? Like, I get it when everybody's hammering the Coyotes when they're plus 250 dogs, but now what? They're a pick'em against the Blues in St. Louis? It's absolutely crazy. All right, it is great. Yes, Latsy, that's what I needed to hear. McCabe List is expected to play because they play the Knucks tomorrow. Billy Friedrich says if Bobano was here, we'd be done by now. Well put. Oh, well put. And Steve G says cracking down the Avs number. They play amazing against us. You know, I almost took the winnings from the live under in the football game and put them on the Avs when they were down 3-2. And I was like, you know what? I'm in the black live. I'm in the black overall. Let's just. And then when the Avs tied it up, I was like, oh, God, scare money, don't make money. And then, of course, Seattle scores with in 40 seconds left to win the game. All right, let's roll. Let's bring on the perfect man for this job. Now, this is not an easy job. All these sports to attack here, very, very difficult, but we have the perfect man for it. Now, we got to keep a brisk pace. We'll be able to do that. We thank you guys so much for being here. Mr. Vape in the house as we go into CFL. Montreal wins. What do we think? Do you guys want to be for that final game? Mr. Vape, I want to take Montreal plus 11, but it feels something just doesn't feel right about it. I talked to Slatsy about it this morning. It just sort of feels like you're going into you find a cave, you're wet. You find a cave for warmth. You go into that cave, and there's Chad Kelly all methed out, sharpening up knives. That's what it feels like. Let's bring on the star of our Friday shows. He is back to every Friday here on Betting with the Bag. Please welcome from Canada's black and yellow, Hamilton, Ontario, Canada's Steel Town, Mr. Ian Cameron to the show. Bobano, how are you?
We're ready to go, Jimmy. It's a big Friday. Let's get to it.
It's a monstrous card, which is so exciting. And my quantity of action has been dialed back, and it's been working. Although I do love action. But it's been working. Let's get right to work. We head into the Canadian Football League Eastern Conference Final, 3 p.m. Eastern here at BMO Field, Toronto, Ontario, 41 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy, 6 miles per hour. Let's get into the line history here. The line opened up big and has only gotten bigger. At what point is this too much? At what point is this just too much? Pinnacle is holding this at an 11. The other books have moved it to 10.5. You know, Bet365 is hanging this at 11. And at Bet365, the plus 11 for the Alouettes is minus 105. I'm not logged in. Maybe I should log in here. I should log in and see if that's changed.
No, it's still that way. Yeah.
Wow. So you have the sharpest book in the land, Pinnacle, has moved it to 11, while all the other books are at 10.5. But that 11's even money for the Argos, minus 114 for the Alouettes. And Bet365 gets a ton of Canadian cash in it. So that's a pretty wild number here. This total opened up at 9.5 and is at 11. The spread opened at 9.5, is at 11. From a total side of things here, we're sitting at a 50.5. It opened up at 50.5 and is not moved. It is not moved. So one of the mistakes I've made this year that you did not make, Bobano, was not supporting the Argos, week after week, especially at home. And you did a great job of that. Sun Dizzle says, nice hat. Jimmy in Vancouver right now. Your hometown as well, Sun Dizzle. I hope you enjoy it, man. What a season the Argos just put together. Tied the CFL record by going 16-2. But that's not even the crazy stuff. 15-0 in games that Chad Kelly played at least half of. 15-0. And it's even that goes further because lots of dominant teams, games can win, but they were 13-2 against the spread in those 15 games. AJ Ouellette is an absolute monster. If it wasn't for Brady Oliveira, we'd be talking about Ouellette as the best running back in the league this year. And for my money, Brady Oliveira deserves it. But Ouellette is such a tough dude. And then we get to the Alouettes. We talked all year about their inability to beat the elite. They picked on the bad teams. They lost to the elite. But they finished down the stretch extremely well, extremely strong. 6-0-1 against the spread over their last 7 games. Yes, they were 0-7 straight up and 1-6 against the spread versus the Argos, Bombers, and Lions. They met the Argos 3 times this year. In week 6 in Montreal, I had Montreal. And I thought I was going to cash it all game long. Had plus 6.5. Thought I was going to cash it all game long. They lose 35-27. The Argos score a touchdown with 2 minutes left. And then they got the 1 point, the rouge, just to stick it in me a little more, pop a rouge on me. And that just drives me batty. In week 14, the Argos demolished the Owls in Toronto. Just destroyed them 39-10. Owls played horrible, sloppy, terrible football. And then in week 15, Toronto squeaked out a 23-20 victory in Montreal. That was the Owls' lone cover against elite teams this year. Montreal's pass defense has been very, very good of late. They finished first in opponent pass efficiency rating and yards allowed per pass. And now Toronto's not just an only pass team. But Bobano, are they hanging this 11 out for us just so we'll snap it up and then get completely destroyed by the Argos? Because I can't stop looking at this 11. I can't stop looking at it. I'd like to have it, but I'm nervous that this is a trap. Take it away, Bobano. Eastern Conference Final, BMO Field, Alouettes, Argos. The winner goes to the Grey Cup.
Yeah. Montreal, I mean, that's the big conundrum, right? I mean, they beat everybody in the league except Winnipeg, Toronto, and BC. Those are the 3 teams they didn't beat. 0-7 straight up, 1-6 against the spread against those 3 teams this season. So it feels like a game where if, history plays out the way it has so far, they're going to lose this game. But you're asking Toronto to lay, 10.5, 11 here against a Montreal team that's 1-7 straight. Again, the weaker teams for the most part, but they have 1-7 straight. The run game is going well. The defense is forcing turnovers. They have a ball hawk in the secondary who I think has been among the best players on defense of any team in the CFL, and that's Marc-Antoine Dequoy. This guy has been phenomenal for the Montreal Alouettes, just spectacular. And it seems like he's getting an interception every single week. And that's someone that you want to have on your side when you're facing, obviously, Chad Kelly and a very high-powered offense like the Toronto Argos. What bothers me about laying this number with Toronto here is I don't know if they're going to be as sharp as they need to be in a game like this. They can be probably 50% and still win because they're that good. They've been the best team in the East talent-wise, both sides of the ball. When you think of Chad Kelly, you think of Ouellette at running back. You think of the receivers that they have, which aren't as great as some teams, but they've got enough there. The O-line solid. Sean Oakman on defense. Wynton McManus, I think one of the better linebackers in the CFL. Robertson Daniel, Avery, and a very, very solid Peters as well, and a very solid secondary. I mean, they're very good, but they haven't played an intense 60-minute, 4-quarter game that meant something, where there was something on the line for the Toronto Argos since when? Late September? That's when they clinched the first place in the East. And what have we seen from the Argos since then? Shuttling starters in and out, in and out, in and out on a rotation basis. 1 week Chad Kelly's out, the next week he's in. 1 week Ouellette's out, next week he's in. 1 week Wynton McManus, Sean Oakman on the defensive side of the football are out. The next week they're in. There's just that continuity. Is it going to be there for the Toronto Argonauts? It's been a while since they've had to crank it up full blast and be sharp, be on their game, and be at their absolute best. It's been a very long time since they have played an intense football game that meant everything. And I worry about this going this long and not having your starters on both sides of the football in that playing rhythm of playing every week or every other week. And that's just not happened for this Toronto Argos team. Meanwhile, you got Montreal playing better. And if you actually look back at the 1-point spread cover that Montreal had against that trio this year, Winnipeg, BC, and Toronto, it came against Toronto. And it was in the last time these two teams played in Montreal. It was 23-20. Toronto won it at the end, and Montreal probably should have won that game. They covered as 6.5-point dogs. The game before that in Toronto, it's going to look 39-10. Toronto blew them out. 4 turnovers by Montreal in that game. 4 turnovers. If they had taken care of, and they were moving the ball in that game, if they had taken care of the ball and not turn it over 4 times. I believe all 4 turnovers came in Toronto territory. That is not a 39-10 final score that day. It's probably something along the lines of a 7-point game, 10 maybe at the most. So if Montreal does not turn it over, big if, because Toronto can force them to, and if Montreal defensively plays the way they have down the stretch, couple that with Toronto's lack of sync with their starting group on both sides of the ball for the last month and a half, there's ample reason for me to take Montreal plus the points. And I am on Montreal plus the points, plus 11, minus 105.
Yeah, I get it. It concerns me here that I'm reading people on the Alouettes, and I don't see anyone on the Argos at this number. And the success I've been running on sides in college football, I'm going against everybody. And so that it just, I want to be on it so bad. I also want to be on the under 31.5 points for the Argos. Look, I get it that they were going over 30 every single game, but every second is important now. Every single play is important. And this Alouettes defense has never looked better. You agree? Do you agree that the defense is playing at their absolute peak right now going into the Eastern Conference?
No question. No question. The only question is now you go from playing Hamilton and you go from playing Edmonton and Calgary and Ottawa. You go from playing all those teams down the stretch where you've been racking up these great defensive stats and numbers, and you go from those offenses to this one. And it's not even a comparison. Toronto is going to be such a bigger test for this Montreal defense, but I think they're up for it. I really do. I actually think they played a really solid game the last time they faced Kelly. It was in Montreal. It was that game they should have won. I thought that was as good a defensive job as anyone's done against the Argos this year, and they should have won that game. So they should get confidence from that. And if you read all the quotes from Moss and the players, loose, they're smiling in practice, but they're smiling and they're having fun, but there's also an intensity and there's also a belief there that they are going to give Toronto a game. And that's all I'm asking for. I'm not saying Montreal outright. I'm just asking them to keep this game competitive, and I think they can do that.
I want in on the plus 11 and the Argos team total under 31. Because I guess I should take that back. I mean, a 34-24 final is not out, impossible, but where you still cover even though they go over the team total. But I do not see. I mean, they're correlated plays, obviously. I mean, what are the final scores where the Argos go under their 31.5 and still cover the Alouettes? That's possible. It's 30-17 final or something like that. Look, I agree with you completely. I just wish I saw people saying the points are fine. I'm on the Argos. They're going to win by 20. I just wish
I agree with you. There's more people I've talked to on Montreal than Toronto. Morency, my buddy, likes Montreal. Cam Stewart, I do shows with them every Wednesday night. They like Montreal as well. So you're right. It's a bigger ratio on the Alouettes, and that does surprise me a little bit because everyone's seen how great Toronto's been, class of the East, and now no one's really rushing to lay points with them here.
Well, it's double-digit points.
Yeah,
and the market's moving, and I've legitimately at this point, I've not read one person or one thing that's on the Argos at double digits.
Yeah. I think it's based on where the number is. I agree. Like if they let's say the odds makers really fucked up and they put Toronto out here -5, that would be a different story. Everyone would be piling on Toronto,
or even 7.5.
Yeah,
even that half point over.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I agree completely, and I'd love to get there. This is 3 p.m. Eastern tomorrow, and the winner plays in the Grey Cup.
Great matchups because they're rematches of last year's division finals. It was Montreal-Toronto East final last year, and of course we'll get to it now. BC-Winnipeg West final last year, another rematch.
North Ender's right. He says no one's playing the Argos, and it goes from 9.5 to 11. I mean, that obviously that makes us uncomfortable, and the way the market works, as you see, you get to see all these different cappers handle things differently. The market scares the shit out of me, and it doesn't. I mean, obviously, Bobano probably doesn't, love it, but he is still comfortable betting it. At this point, that scares me so much, North Ender, that I may just move on the Argos team total under 31.5. Okay, we got to move on. We got so much to do, but touch on the Argos defense.
Yeah.
Is this a defense that can completely shut down the Owls here?
The Toronto defense is a conundrum for me because they give up big plays sometimes. They give up yardage. but they get key stops. They force a lot of turnovers. They really do. They get fumbles. They get sack fumbles. They get interceptions. They've got Wynton McManus is every bit the ball hawk that Marc-Antoine Dequoy is on the Montreal side. They've got their secondary with Peters, with Robertson Daniel. I mean, those are guys that can create interceptions, and we know Fajardo can be haphazard with ball security. We know that that's an issue for him, and that's what worries me the most about being on Montreal here. Montreal's great at forcing turnovers. That's where Toronto's defensive numbers are good, but they're not great. But why is this defense better than their numbers? Because they force a shit ton of turnovers, and they do face a quarterback that can give up turnovers in Fajardo. So I'm worried. That's the one thing I'm worried about. Cody's got to protect the football. Don't throw those 50-50 balls, because if you do that against Toronto, they'll burn you.
Okay, let's roll on. We got to tighten everything up, speed everything up. Steve G says Sharks can beat the Oilers. No chance versus Vegas. Well, I tell you what, you take Chandler Stevenson, who I think is arguably one of the most important players in the NHL. I know that sounds crazy to people, but I think he's the most important forward. Oh, no, I guess you can't say more than Stone, but
Fajardo made a reference earlier this week, and he obviously has taken heat of it. People don't think he can win big games in the playoffs because he hasn't in the past, but he mentioned it in a quote earlier this week. It's like, people have second-guessed me in the past about this time of year. I think he's got that chip. He does. We'll see if he can make good on it, though, on Saturday.
Let's move on to the Western Conference Final here, 6:30 p.m. Eastern. The BC Lions 12-6, 6-3 at home. Winnipeg Blue Bombers 14-4, 8-1 at home. We're at IG Field in Winnipeg, Manitoba. Getting cooler, 32 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 8 miles per hour is the wind. Let's get into the line history here for this one. This total is dropped to 49.5. I say dropped. It hasn't really dropped. Other books have moved it to 50, and Pinnacle's just stayed at 49. So really, there's been a 6 cents of movement to the over. But from a spread situation here, we have the Bombers -4.5. They opened up -105. They're now -111. They got up to -117 on Tuesday. So a little bit of buyback, but sitting at 4.5. Then we go to, we don't care about the cash flow. Here we go. So in the last 2 years, the Bombers have just been absolutely dominant at home. Absolutely dominant. There's just that strange week 3. That week 3 that we all remember. The Lions went in to Winnipeg and just destroyed them. It was shock and awe. Shock and awe. Beat them 30-6. And then the Bombers came back and destroyed the BC Lions. And then they beat them again in a very, very wild, entertaining football game just a few weeks ago in BC. But at home, in the last 2 years, they've had 2 losses. Regular season, 17-2. I guess that's not regular season. That would include the playoffs. 17-2 and 14-5 against the spread. Their offense is just absolutely rolling right now. I was wrong about Vernon Davis. Now, he still threw 18 interceptions. But I was wrong about he was very, very good this year. He led the league in passing yards, and only Collaros threw more touchdowns. 33 for Collaros, 31 for Vernon Adams. Winnipeg's offense right now is just rolling. And they have issues. They have injury issues at wide receiver, which Bobano is going to touch on. Winnipeg has averaged 44.8 points per game in their last 5 at home. 44.8. Collaros led the league in pass efficiency rating. Brady Oliveira ran for 1,534 yards. That was 400 more than Kevin Brown in second place. He caught just under 500 yards, 482. Most outstanding player of the year. Dalton Schoen and Nick Dembski are hurting. So is Rashid Bailey. So those are 3 receivers that missed practice this week. Schoen's been hurt all season. Spectacular wide receiver rookie of the year last year. So the Lions defense has been horrific. That game at IG Field was the highlight of their campaign, but they kept it going there for maybe 8-9 weeks. They've allowed 31.6 points per game over their last 10. And look, I was wrong about Vernon Adams, and he's got weapons at wide receiver all over the field. Keon Hatcher, Alexander Hollins, Lucky Whitehead, Javon Catoy, Brian Burnham. I mean, they're just all over the place. But I don't know how they keep up here with the Bombers, because when the Bombers care, they're juggernauts. When it means something to them, they're very, very good. Take it away for us here, Bobano, Western Conference Final, Lions Bombers.
Yeah, great game. Absolutely outstanding. BC caught a break, though, because in this game, as far as the weather, because obviously bad weather hurts their offense more than it hurts Winnipeg's offense, because Winnipeg can run the ball with Oliveira, the best running back in the CFL. They don't rely always on the pass. BC does. BC can't run the football. BC hasn't really run the football well all year. They need a good weather report, and it's going to be sunny. It's not going to be too cold, and the wind is going to be moderate, but I don't think it's going to be heavy wind. So there shouldn't be much detriment to the passing game here. So the weather's pretty good for mid-November in Winnipeg for this game, all things considered. So that's good news for BC. Their offense is excellent right now. Obviously, they had a phenomenal game last week against Calgary. Might have been one of the best games I've ever seen out of Vernon Adams, because he was just on point, start to finish. And you know what he did a lot more of last week, and he's going to do it here, obviously, an even better opponent on the road. He used his legs. I don't think he ran enough this year. I don't think he took those opportunities to run with the football when receivers were covered down the field. He'd force the ball instead and throw a bad interception. He ran and used his legs way more last week. And I want to see him do that. In fact, if there's a Vernon Adams rushing yards prop out there for this game, I would look at it, because finally he showed a willingness to run with the football last week, and it really made a world of difference. It opened everything up for that offense against Calgary's defense. Now, much better defense here, but a defense that in the secondary is still the weak link. And it's worth noting, BC put up 34 it was 30 and 26 in two of the regular season meetings. There was also the game they lost 50-14. That was a brutal spot. I remember it. BC was on a short week. Winnipeg was coming off a bye and a loss, and they got their ass kicked by BC earlier in the year, so it conspired. But other than that, BC was able to move the ball against Winnipeg. Winnipeg should certainly score their share of points. Now, Dalton Schoen and Nick Dembski are questionable. So that's surprising that even after the bye week, all this time to heal up injuries, that they might still be down Dalton Schoen and Nick Dembski for this game. And Dalton Schoen's the big one. Like, he is that would hurt a little bit. Yeah, and they've got enough. They've got Kenny Lawler, Bailey has stepped up. Wolotarski's good. They've got other options, but I mean, Schoen not playing would hurt Winnipeg a little bit. But they got Oliveira. They've still got other receivers they can rely on. They've got a good O-line. They're gonna have to watch Matthew Betts here, because he is a good pass rusher. But if you negate him, you double team him, you're usually going to be able to keep Kolaros upright. You look at BC, Jimmy, they've given up 25 plus points in 10 straight games. It's really, really hard to buy into this defense right now. 25 or more they've allowed in 10 straight games entering this one. You mentioned Winnipeg's average of over 40 per game in their last 5 home games. I just don't foresee BC's defense shutting this team down. Winnipeg is going to get probably 28, if not 30. Yeah, the Winnipeg team total there with Slatsy's look, I don't argue with that. But BC, I think, will get theirs. I'm on over. That's my biggest bet of the entire division final Saturday. It's over in this game. I cashed an easy one with Calgary, BC over the total last week. The weather's going to be good enough where I don't think weather's going to impede this game as far as points are concerned. So for me, we'll go with over 49.5, minus 115 at Bet99. So we'll go with that. You know what's funny? It's at 49.5 at Bet99. It's 49 minus 120 at Pinnacle. I'll go with that instead. Over 49 minus 120 at Pinnacle with the BC Winnipeg over. I'm not going to make, actually, I will make this official. What the hell? It's division final Saturday. I'm taking a shot, Jimmy, with BC money line. BC money line plus 185 at Pinnacle. I think this offense can pose problems for Winnipeg. I really can. I like the redemption angle a little bit. BC lost in the West Final last year in Winnipeg. I think there's something to that. You don't want to go back there and lose again. Now, maybe it happens, but I think there's reasons BC can compete in this game. And the way I see it, if you like BC and you kind of want to take them as I do, take them on the money line. I think if Winnipeg wins, they cover. Okay, if Winnipeg wins, they're going to cover the minus 4.5. If BC covers, I think it's either they win outright or nothing. I don't think there's a scenario where BC covers and Winnipeg wins. Winnipeg wins by a field goal. If Winnipeg wins, they're covering that short number. So I'm taking a smaller shot with BC plus 185, but the bigger bet for me here is over 49.
I think the difference for me in this game, and I've now figured out how I'm going to move on it, is that this Lions group, regardless of the outcome, will be back here next year. This Bombers group won't. They know that.
Yeah, there's a little bit of an aura of finality here for Winnipeg.
They know
right?
that.
Yeah.
And this is it.
No.
This is it
The
for
last
them.
go round.
This is it.
Especially when I saw, he's an all-star. He's probably going to be a Hall of Famer. Stanley Bryant, the left tackle. He's been here forever. He's had a great career. Amazing. And he rarely allows pressure and sacks. But this year, he's shown a little more long in the tooth. There's been some times when we have seen him, beaten. And it's just a reminder that this Winnipeg team, their core age is in the 30s. Mm-hmm. Time is ticking on this core. And you're right. This is like that last dance type of deal. Feels like it.
And next year, I'm going to be on the Lions. But after the Bombers lost in the Super Bowl last year, the Grey Cup last year, they know this. They've been saying it all year.
Yeah.
And that's what concerns me about the over. That's it. It's just that this game means everything to Winnipeg, everything to their lives, to their careers, and it just doesn't for BC. Yeah. Not saying that BC isn't extremely dangerous. I'm going to be on the Bombers -4.5 and the Bombers team total over. But I agree with your sentiment. This is an extremely dangerous BC Lions team.
Yeah.
But I just feel like losing last year the way they did and having the Lions come in and smoke them in week 3 the way they did, they know what they're up against here. And they know this is it. This is it.
Beat them twice since that smoking in the last 2 regular season meetings, including the one that gave them this home game in the West Final.
I love it. That was extremely enjoyable, Bobano. Alouettes +11 for Bobano. I'm very interested and close to the Alouettes +11. I'm going to be on the Argos under 31.5. Bobano's on the over 49 in the Western Conference Final, the Lions money line. I'm going to be on the Bombers -4.5 and the team total over while I'm wearing my BC Lions jersey. Casey Printers, number 1. Let's move on. Great to see you, Rez Mob. And I'm right with you, Slatsy. I'm going to have the exact same action as you in the Bombers game, and Viper on Winnipeg -4.5. It's going to be extremely enjoyable. Let's get into NHL right now. 7 p.m. Eastern. We start with the Minnesota Wild at the Buffalo Sabres. Wild 5-6-2, 2-4-1 on the road at the Buffalo Sabres. 6-6-1, 3-4-0 at home. We're at KeyBank Center in Buffalo, New York. We've got to the point in the season where, and this always happens in NHL around the 10-game mark, where there's a ton of injuries. So it makes things a little trickier than usual. So let's get after it here. We started at KeyBank Center in Buffalo, New York. Let's get into the line history here right off the hop and move over to NHL. And we got to be tight. We have so much to do here, Bobano, and we took extra time, and I enjoyed it immensely. But
it's the division finals. We had to give it its due.
No, I enjoyed every second of it. So here we go. Buffalo is sitting at -118. They opened up at -111. Why would the Sabres open up at a line like this at home? Now, they're only 3-4-0 at home, but we know what they're capable of. And, it's the injury issues. Now, we have injury issues on both sides, but the injury issues are touch and go for Buffalo, whereas we know exactly what the injury issues are for Minnesota. Let's get into this here. This total is sitting at 6.5, and it's heavily juiced to the over. And I did have some interest in trying to get underneath it. I'm not going to, but I did have some interest in it. The Minnesota power plays at 14.9% and Buffalo's at 12.8%. Buffalo's penalty kill has been very good this year. Get used to it with Dahlin and Owen Power and their length. I mean, they're going to be a great penalty killing squad and power play, but penalty killing squad for a long time. Minnesota's penalty killing 65%. You've heard Bobano talk about what this Wild team is like without Jared Spurgeon, their captain and leader out there. So the Wild are on the second half of back-to-back after losing 4-1 to the Rangers last night. I really thought as soon as the Domingue announcement, I told you guys we're going to get a better number and it's going to cash comfortably. And Spurgeon out and Alex Goligoski out. And, of course, Frederick Goodrow is also out, a center. The Sabres coming off their second loss in 3 games, 3-2 in overtime at Carolina on Tuesday, but they have a litany of injuries. Dylan Cousins is going to play this weekend. Now, they play at Pittsburgh tomorrow night. It may not be tonight. It was a very ill-advised. I love it. but it was dumb for him.
Garnet Hathaway's out of his league from fighting
Yeah.
perspective. Yeah.
It was stupid, but I do kind of like it. And he learned his lesson. Garnet Hathaway broke his nose. So he's missed the last 2 games. He's wearing a full shield. And then we're going to get to see if he stays out, because it's Matt Savoy who's been on that top line with Tage Thompson and Jeff Skinner, because he's replacing Tuck. Alex Tuck's missed the last 2 practices, so he's day-to-day with an upper body injury. And they're both hopeful to play here. Savoy out of St. Albert, Alberta, just outside of Edmonton, 9th overall pick in 2022. They said he was the fastest skater in that draft. A fun player for the squad. So also, Matthias Samuelsson is out, and he's lower body injury. He's week to week right now. And remember what happened last year when Samuelsson was out? It was a massive loss for the team. Now, Owen Power has taken the next step, but still, he's a very important defenseman here. So there's issues. Take it away, Bobano, Wild Sabres.
Yeah, I'm going to do 2 bets here, Buffalo and the draw in this game. I think the Sabres are live. I like the fact it's a back-to-back for Minnesota. I don't mind going against them in a spot like this. They're only 2-5 on the road. And I know Buffalo's been up and down, but they've actually got 1 win more than Minnesota. So you would think on paper, isn't Minnesota a better team? But Minnesota hasn't exactly played well. They do play Pittsburgh. I don't know if that's a big-time look ahead, because Pittsburgh's not quite what they once were. It's funny, though. Buffalo's probably in a good spot tomorrow night, because Pittsburgh's coming back from the West Coast. So it's one of those deals where I'm on Buffalo tonight, and if they lose, I'll probably come back to them tomorrow, honestly, against Pittsburgh. But tonight I do like them. They've won 2 in a row at hosting Minnesota. They've won each of the last 2 times Minnesota's come here, and we've seen 3 of the last 4 meetings go beyond regulation. So I've been doing this a lot lately, where I'm not scared to go with a team that I think is going to win the game, but also sprinkle a bit on the draw in that same game. So perfect result for me would be Buffalo to win in overtime or a shootout going into this game. We'll see who's in net. You would think it's Gustafsson now tonight on the back-to-back, and he hasn't played as well, not even close to what he's played like horrible last year. He's been absolutely terrible. And one thing about Buffalo is they've been in a win one, lose one type of run. Loss, win, loss, win, loss, win, win, loss, win, loss. Well, they lost against Carolina. What's tonight? It's a spot to win, in my opinion. And I'm not giving up on this Sabres team. I think, they've still got some good hockey ahead of them. It's not been the start I wanted and expected from them, and a lot of people, for a team that a lot of people think can finally break through and break the playoff drought this year. But I am going to be on them tonight. We'll go -115 with the Buffalo Sabres money line in this game. And I'm also going to add the draw here in this game. We've got strong series history that points to tight games and games that go beyond regulation. So the draw is at +370 at FanDuel.
+370 for the draw. Gustafsson's been atrocious this year. 2-3-1, 4.89 goals against average, 871 save percentage. And Devin Levi, as I thought would happen, has not gotten off to a good start, even though it was so much fun to back him at the end of last year. I mean, this is a very difficult proposition here for him. Billy Friedrich says he thinks Sabres sit Tuck tonight so he can play tomorrow night. That's what I think as well. And Cousins is really trying to play.
Yeah.
Because he's a little embarrassed as well. I love him. What a player. He's going to be such a monster for this hockey team. So at this point, I've got nothing on it. I can definitely understand your look on the Sabres. Opening this line at -111 was like, I hate that. I hate that. I would rather have seen them opening up at -125 or something, the Wild have won twice in 7 regulation games on the road. Or in regulation on the road. Stevie G saying Levi is starting Luukkonen tomorrow. Let's move on to the next spot on the board, and I opened it up a little bit. I couldn't help myself. I was like putting in the bet in, and I was like, if this is my only bet in NHL tonight, then I want it to mean a little more. So I did go just 1.5 units, but I did go a little more on it. And look, if I'm going to go, like, this is a problem. Backing the Toronto Maple Leafs is a problem. But fading the Calgary Flames is glorious. There's huge talks about when are the Flames going to trade their pieces away. Will Craig Conroy even want to trade with the Leafs? I mean, that's his old boss, Treliving, who's now the manager of the Leafs, and there's pieces on the Flames that the Maple Leafs desperately need, especially on defense. But that'll be for another show. Scotiabank Arena in Toronto, Ontario. Leafs now just 3-4-0 at home. These lines, look, they're getting me. They got me against Ottawa. I would never, ever take the Leafs against Ottawa. It's Ottawa or nothing. And I did bet the Leafs because I was like, God, I mean, it's just these lines are so low. This total is at 6.5 minus 128 to the over. It slips up to 7 and comes down, but it's basically you can have a heavily juiced over 6.5 or, a plus money 7. From a money line standpoint here, Toronto's now at minus 148. They opened up at minus 148. They took some money, not much. It's been around here the whole time. And Markstrom versus Wall. Joseph Wall does not look good right now. His numbers are fine. 2.79 goals against average, 914 save percentage. But if you're watching the last couple games, he's angry. He's allowing goals and emoting. He's just doesn't quite. There's so much pressure on him. There's so much pressure on Samsonov. There's so much pressure on the Leafs right now. Markstrom is doing exactly what we expected of him. Save percentage under 900. Enjoy that for the next 5 years, Flames fans. Calgary power play at 16.7%. I said preseason it won't be over 18%. This is going to be a bad power play. And they're penalty killing 90%. And I said they'd have top 5 penalty killing. They're doing everything that I thought they were. And they're not going to make the playoffs. We're going to cash that at plus 130. They're not going to go over 94.5 points. We're going to cash that as well. Leafs power play 27.9%, penalty killing 71.4%. The Flames coming off their second straight win 4-2 at home over Nashville on Wednesday night. They're a healthy group. The Leafs coming off their 5th loss in 6 games, 6-3 at home versus Ottawa on Wednesday night. Look, I watched the game. It was so hard to watch. Their defense is abhorrent right now. They're missing Connor Timmins, Timothy Liljegren, and Jake McCabe. McCabe's been in 6 straight games with a groin injury. He's been back practicing. He could be back tonight. They're expecting him to be back tonight. The Canucks come to town tomorrow night. They need to win this game. This game is so important. You can't let the Canucks come in with the streak they're on after losing yet again.
They're never. No, of course not. They're never going to lose another game this year, Vancouver. Yeah.
So, Slide saying watching Huberdeau sit for the entire period with his head down was funny and sad at the same time. Imagine trading Matthew Tkachuk for him. It was just, and then what? It's not even that. Imagine getting the job for the Leafs, the most coveted job, arguably in the league after not using Sam Bennett. What about Sam Bennett? I mean, I can't believe Trey Living has this job. But take it away, Bobano. I'm on the Toronto Maple Leafs here, and it's a big game for me tonight. Take it away.
So conceptually, I could only back Toronto here. They're saying all the right things. Practice, they were working on the penalty kill yesterday. Sheldon Keefe finally snapped after the Ottawa loss, saying, we talk all the time about the numbers and the points these guys put up, but we don't talk about how we don't keep the puck out of our own net. And that is the focus tonight for sure. But it's one of those deals, and there's going to be some lineup adjustments. Klingberg's coming out. He has to. He was on the ice for 4 goals the other night. He's been brutal. I think he's actually been the second worst defenseman in the NHL as far as on danger chances allowed from a defenseman while on the ice. So that's as bad as it gets. Jake McCabe, who's actually, look, he hasn't exactly played great since he's been with the Leafs, but at least he's a physical defenseman. He's been, plays that style that they need right now. Someone that's going to actually be physical, be a little bit shut down as far as the blue line. And he's going to be back, and he'll probably replace Klingberg tonight. So, and I don't trust Calgary yet. I know Calgary's won a couple in a row. They're feeling better. They beat Seattle. They beat Nashville. Their last 2 games after they had their own big slump to start the year, like most Canadian teams. So they're playing better. It's not going to be an easy gimme win for Toronto, but I don't want to step in front of the Leafs. That being said, I don't want to lay this kind of price. So it's a pretty easy pass for me. And I think this game feels and smells like it actually for a change is an under involving Toronto, but I don't have the guts to take Toronto under until I actually see them step up defensively.
I got Slides. I got plus 104. Plus 104. That was putting it together on the -1 calculator. I could have got plus 105 if I just put it in at Pinnacle, but I sent it in at plus 104. So a big angle here for me is that the Marner, Matthews, Nyes line was outplayed badly in the last game.
For as amazing as they were against Tampa Bay, they were every bit as bad against Ottawa. Yeah.
I don't remember this.
Yeah.
So, if you let Claude Giroux come in, get out of his wheelchair and put his cane on the side and take his pipe out and then dominate you, well, there's a problem. And so I just feel like they're going to step up tonight. They goddamn better step
He
up
put a
tonight.
chapeau on Claude Giroux's head with that beard of his and a pipe in his mouth. That he looked
He's a
perfectly
beatnik.
like someone like that. Yeah.
The guy's a beatnik.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's roll on. Next up for us is 7 p.m. Eastern. Carolina Hurricanes 8-5-0, 4-5-0 on the road at the Florida Panthers 7-4-1, 4-1-0 at home. We're at Amerant Bank Arena in Sunrise, Florida. Antti Ranta versus Sergei Bobrovsky. So I was, I'm looking for the opportunities to fade the Panthers as much as possible. And I was like, oh, this is a beauty. This is a beauty. Probably are they going to give me, what are they going to give me? Plus 105, plus 110, and I was really excited. And I went to the site for the odds and I was like, oh, no. And of course, like, God damn. Jesus. So Carolina's minus 128 here. And I don't know. Should they be? They opened up at minus 126. They got up to minus 133. I guess, but I don't know how you can take them at that price. I mean, it doesn't matter that the Panthers have now played 12 games without Montour, Ekblad, and Bennett. Like, they're getting more comfortable with it now, and it's not the same as it was early in the year. This total here is at 6.5, minus 114 to the over. It opened up minus 104 to the over, so we've had a 10-cent move to the over. Ranta has looked bad this year, and it's very, very important with the injury issues that the Hurricanes are dealing with for him to step up. Bobrovsky's been him. He's a very average goaltender, and if he gets hot, it helps. Carolina power play 26.5%, penalty killing 76%. Florida power play at 13.2%, penalty killing 72.5%. Brandon Montour is magic on the power play. It's a huge loss for him, and you can imagine that as soon as, and I keep saying this, as soon as these guys come back, we move on futures on them. Now, but they have to play a week, because with a shoulder injury being that long, remember what happened when Josh Norris came back last year. And so we can't just bet a future as soon as they come back. We have to wait a week or so for to trust their body and know that they're good to go. We had to sort of do that with Josh Norris, even though no one wants futures on him this year. So both teams come off of 2 straight overtime wins. Carolina comes in off a 3-2 overtime win at home over Buffalo on Tuesday night. Brett Pesce remains out with a lower body injury, but he's close to coming back. Panthers coming off a 4-3 overtime win at the Capitals on Wednesday night. Take it away for us here, Bobano. Hurricanes, Panthers.
Yeah, I'm kind of like you. I'd like to be on Carolina, too. It's the first meeting since the East Final when they got swept by the Florida Panthers. So this game means a little more than the average regular season game for the Carolina Hurricanes. That doesn't mean it's not going to mean anything to Florida. They're going to want to win, but the price ain't right. I don't want to lay $1.30 with Carolina on the road. A 4-1 team at home. Florida's got a good home ice. They play well there at Sunrise, Florida. So I don't feel good enough taking Carolina at this number. If you give me, even money or a plus price, I'm in. But not at minus 130 in this game. But I am in on something.
Okay.
Give me the draw. It's another draw here for me in this game. A lot of stats add up to it. Carolina's playing tight games. 2 straight have gone to overtime. Same with Florida. 2 straight games have gone to OT. 3 of the last 5 overall for the Panthers have gone to overtime. Look at even the playoff series last year. 4-3, 1-0, and a couple of overtime games in those 4 playoff games last year in the East Final, all 1-goal games. So you talk about your percentages in your favor, and that's what you're doing when you bet a draw. You want to put the percentages in your favor, and if they're even in your favor a little bit, you're getting prices like at FanDuel, plus 380 with the draw, Jimmy, here at FanDuel. That's what we'll make it official at, plus 380, the draw. You get your percentages in your favor. We have a Carolina team that's gone past regulation in 2 games straight. Same with Florida. 3 of the last 5 for Florida as well. And you have these teams in the playoff series last year. Every game was a 1-goal game. So you're buzzing around overtime potential here, as far as I'm concerned in this game. So draw plus 380.
You are locked in. We have the exact same sentiment. The last one. And I imagine we'll have the exact same one here. We move on to 7 p.m. Eastern. Washington Capitals and New Jersey Devils. Capitals 5-4-2, 1-1-1 on the road. Devils 7-4-1, 3-2-1 at home. That record for the Capitals, 5-4-2, 1-1-1 on the road, is heaven for gamblers. They're not as bad, or their record is not as bad as they are, which means we're going to get some okay prices fading them. And god damn, do I want to fade them so badly. And Ron Crawford, star of the spreadsheet play of the day, is fading them here. He is on the Devils -1 at -115. A bet that I can't make. I cannot make with Hughes and Hischier out of the lineup. And we'll talk about it more in a second. But I love that he's on it, so at least I can cheer for Ron and not have my money on a team that concerned me all year for only having one line scoring and the power play scoring. And what's this power play going to do? Now, I love Mercer on the second line, but can McLeod be this first line center? I don't know, but I love that Ron Crawford is on New Jersey here. Shout out to our guy, Ron Crawford. And if Ron Crawford cashes this, he sweeps back-to-back weeks of the spreadsheet play of the day. He'll be 8-0 if he cashes this one. Shout out to our guy, Ron Crawford. Nate Dogg was with you on that overtime spot in the last game. Here he likes Devils money line, and he's leaning to the over. Darcy Kemper versus Vitek Vanacek. Kemper 3-3-2, 3.07 goals against average, 892 save percentage. Vanacek 6-3-0, 3.29 goals against average, 893 save percentage. Washington power play at 9.1%. I mean, it's even worse than I imagined. I thought that would be a place, where they would at least, have a 20% power play, and Ovi would score some goals. And penalty killing 80%. New Jersey Devils power play at 41.7%. Watch that drop. Now, and penalty killing at 76.7%. So Michael McLeod, Toffoli, and Jesper Bratt. I mean, what a difference one player makes off of a first line. Second line, Dawson Mercer, who I really believe in, hasn't gotten off to a great start with Palat and Timo Meier. All of a sudden, your top six forwards aren't good. They're not, it's not bad, but that's not a good top six group all of a sudden, which is just absolutely wild. So then you got to move Timo Meier to center on the power play. Is he able to win the draws that you're going to need to have possession of the puck? It's a pretty wild situation. And then we get to the Capitals, and we have to talk about the injury issues that they're dealing with. This is going to be the best fade in the business. Anthony Mantha, who's been actually pretty good this year, he's now out with an upper body injury. He's out for at least until next week. Nick Dowd is on the IR with an upper body injury. We know Backstrom's long gone, and Patches won't be back.
Two defensemen, Trevor Van Riemsdyk out, yep. Edmondson out. Yep.
So huge problems.
Yep.
And maybe they should still be faded. But the Devils are missing Colin Miller and Thomas Nosek as well. So maybe they should still be faded. Maybe the Capitals should just be bet against regardless right now because their record is decent. Take it away, Bobano. Caps, Devils.
Not tonight. No Hughes, no Hischier, no problem as far as I'm concerned. New Jersey, they get the dub tonight. Washington, I don't trust them even against a Devils team that's without Hughes and Hischier. And New Jersey's coming back home off a tough end of the road trip, lost to Colorado. I know they weren't happy with their defensive team, nor should they have been. That was sloppy, brutal defensive hockey from New Jersey. I mean, you can't be giving up odd man rushes and turning the puck over like they did against Colorado. And the Avalanche made them pay for it. So I think definitely you're going to see the Devils bounce back here in this game. There are actually going to be two bets here that I'm going to make. I'm going to go over 6 -125 at Pinnacle. There's a strong series history to the over here between these two teams. 5-2 to the over the last 7 meetings. Devils are 10-1 to the over in their last 11 against the East, 12-2 to the over in their last 14 home games, 10-2 to the over overall this year. And even without those two guys, I think there's enough offense to go around. Let's keep in mind, Michael McLeod and Mercer, who are their top two centers right now, they've chipped in offensively multiple games since the injuries. So I'm on the over, and I'm also on the same thing that Philly Eagle Flyer put in the chat, a combo bet here. New Jersey Devils and over 5.5 at +148 at Pinnacle. So that's Devils and over 5.5 +148 at Pinnacle.
I love Slatsy talking about Anthony Mantha. There's some guys that you expect more from just because of their height And I used to do that with Bukestad. Did it with Tyler Myers when he was a rookie, and I was so excited about him. The same thing can be said about Anthony Mantha. Fanatical Jim is on the Caps, -1.5 plus 350 and over the score.
That's another reason I like the Devils, though, Trap God. They lost to Washington at home this year earlier. They took it for granted that, Washington's struggling and New Jersey was playing well at the time. And that was one of those games I know they weren't happy about the way they came out and the way they played. So I don't think an awful loss to Colorado. This is not them. They're going to play a much better game tonight, in my opinion, against the Caps.
I will cheer you on, and I will learn a little bit about the group, and I would love to fade the Capitals. Nothing would bring me more joy. We didn't go over the market move. Sorry, I find the game so interesting. This 6.5 right now is, at a pick'em here. Bobano took the 6 at -125, which is available. And then in a pick'em at Pinnacle is -106, of course, and then the money line here, the Devils are -200. They opened up at -184, and the market even moved against them down to -170, down to -168 at 9:05 in the morning. So, 32 cents of movement in 2 hours and 45 minutes towards the Devils, and I cannot do. Billy Friedrich says Jacob Markstrom not on the ice for the morning skate.
Dan Vladar maybe tonight then.
I don't know if I don't even know if I'd rather have Markstrom in. I don't. Yeah, tale of two civs. Let's move on.
Yeah, Vladar was good last year. He has not been good this year. Big difference.
No. 10 p.m. Eastern. We move on. San Jose Sharks. The white hot San Jose Sharks, 2-10-1, 0-5-0 on the road at the Vegas Golden Knights, 11-2-1, 7-1-1 at home, T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. A lesson must have been learned for everybody who thought that a team was due. The Oilers are due to smash. When you hear a talking head on the radio talking about how bad the Oilers are going to beat the Sharks and give you a -4.5, you either turn off the radio or you bet against that guy. Capo Kakkonen, 0-4-0, 4.30 goals against average, 876 save percentage. Aiden Hill, 6-1-1, 1.97 goals against average, 934 save percentage, one shutout. It's amazing the wealth of goaltending the Golden Knights were able to get last year with all the injuries they faced. Spectacular work by the franchise. San Jose power play 17.5%, penalty killing 72.6%. Vegas power play 22.5%, penalty killing 83.7%. Get into the line history here for this one. You have Vegas at -522. Is that the biggest number that we've seen? It got up to -556 at 9:37 a.m. Is that the biggest number we've ever seen? I mean,
it's up there. No, I've seen -600. I saw -600 with Colorado in a game last year. I remember it.
Oh, last year. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So then this total is at 6.5. It's a open to -114 to the under. It's now -115 to the under. Let's get into. We don't need the cash flow. Let's get into it. Sharks coming off a back-to-back after securing their second straight win, 3-2 at home versus the Oilers last night. They're missing Logan Couture, who they desperately need. Alexander Barabanov, as well as defenseman Jacob McDonald and Matt Benning. Knights coming off their second straight loss, 4-1 at home versus the Kings on Wednesday night. And I don't know if there's a center in the NHL that I like more than Chandler Stevenson. I just think he's everything you could ever imagine a hockey player. He does everything. He's phenomenal. He's such a big part of their success. He's out with an upper body injury, and so is Matt Roy. They're also missing Nicholas Hague, who he showed his importance, his toughness, 6'6", and Zach Whitecloud, who brought the Stanley Cup back to the Indigenous community that he's from up here, and he's just a beloved figure in Canada. Both are out. Both are heart and soul guys like Chandler Stevenson. When you win Stanley Cups, you have a roster littered with heart and soul character guys. Take it away for us here, Bobano, Sharks Knights.
Yeah, pass for me on this one. I mean, I don't trust San Jose still. I mean, they beat Philly, who, they have offensive issues. Edmonton's a disaster, tire fire, dumpster fire, whatever you want to call it right now. But credit to them. They are 2-0 since Mike Greer, the GM, went onto the ice, addressed the team and said, hey, play a little harder, play a little tougher, take pride in your defensive game, which they clearly didn't do and given up a 10 spot back-to-back to Vancouver and Pittsburgh. But since then, they have done a much better job. Now, it is back-to-back for the Sharks, and Mackenzie Blackwood is in one of those zones where, he had a brutal start to the year. He had that incredible game against Colorado. Then his play declined again. And the last two starts, he's been really good against the Flyers and the Oilers. But are we going to see him tonight? If we see Kokkonen, he's been awful. He's been worse than Blackwood, actually. 4.3 goals against, 876 save percentage, 0-4 on the season. And Vegas, you always have to ask yourself, Vegas is obviously a great team. Would they take San Jose lightly tonight? I don't think so after losing to LA the other night against the Kings, coming off a loss. Actually, they're coming off 2 losses now because they lost to Anaheim last Sunday night as well. So they've lost 2 straight, the Golden Knights. So I don't think they take San Jose lightly. But how are you going to find value in betting in any fashion, trying to bet a minus -510 favorite? So it's a pass for me.
Yeah, I don't want anything to do with this one. I don't, and I'm telling you, man, you take Chandler Stevenson, Nicholas Hague, Zach Whitecloud out, you're in big trouble. Let's move on. Well, not against Sharks, but moving forward. Yeah. We move on to the final spot on the board, 10 p.m. Eastern. Philadelphia Flyers 5-7-1, 2-3-1 on the road at the Anaheim Ducks, 7-5-0, 3-3-0 at home, Honda Center in Anaheim, California. Carter Hart versus John Gibson is listed right now. Both goalies playing well this year. I love seeing Gibson step up, and I laugh sort of at the Oilers who could have had him. Anybody could have had him, and you could have worked out a deal where the Ducks kept some money and paid him some of it. It was. But they take soupy dumps, and you have to deal with that. Johnny Gibson, 2.40, 2.41, goals against average, 921, save percentage. Philly, power play, 8.9%, penalty killing, 79.5%. Anaheim, power play, 18.4%, penalty killing, 79.3%. I talked about my disappointment seeing the Hurricanes at -130. My shock at seeing the Philadelphia Flyers at -128. I mean, just my shock at seeing the Flyers at -105. And then it moves 23 cents in the Flyers direction. So for me, I don't see, and I love and I respect all the cappers that do. But at that point, I take my wallet back and I put it in my pocket. At that point, I'm like, okay. The books are filthy, dumb, rich. But anybody who now sees that line and says, look, I'm going to attack it, I respect it. So don't, but I don't do that. I just put my wallet back in my pocket. This total is sitting at 6.5 at Pinnacle. It's juiced pretty heavy to the under. It opened at 6. It's still at 6 everywhere else, juiced, but Pinnacle's moved it to 6.5. The Flyers coming off their second straight loss, a 2-1 setback at San Jose on Tuesday night that gave the Sharks their first win of the season. Rasmus Ristolainen and Mark Stahl remain out for the Flyers. The Ducks had their 6-game winning streak snapped in a 2-0 loss at home versus the Penguins on Tuesday night. Jamie Drysdale and Brock McGinn remain out for the Ducks. This is absolute. And then North End says, as soon as I seen Flyers favorite, I bet it. I get that. That's another thing I don't do either. And maybe that's a mistake. It cost me not being on the Penguins last night and the Kings the night before, just because I know the market's telling us something. I don't flip. And I've talked often about maybe I should just flip and completely trust the market, but I don't want to be that guy either. Take it away here, Bobano, Flyers, Ducks.
No, I'm against the market here. I like Anaheim. Anaheim's been slept on all year. We've cashed a bunch of winners with Anaheim, and right now there's no reason for the Flyers to be favored in this game. They're not the better of these two teams right now. Anaheim is. Anaheim lost the other night. You're not going to win every game, but, I still think in that 2-0 loss, it was pretty even. 35-31 were the shots. It's not like Anaheim got dominated in that game. They just couldn't find the back of the net. I think their scoring kind of cooled off. This is a team that had been scoring 4 goals in 5 straight games, and it was one of those nights where, you played well enough to win, and the puck just didn't go in for you as far as Anaheim against Pittsburgh. I just like this talent. Way better in Anaheim. They got much better talent up front than Philadelphia does. The blue line is getting better. Minchikov has been a gem on the back end. He's been excellent. And then Drysdale, they still miss him. Wait till he gets back. But, I've been very impressed up front. Carter Hart will be in net here for Philadelphia. So that's the good news. He's back. Not that Ersson was that bad. Ersson actually started out poorly, but he played better his last couple starts. And if anything, Hart's been out for a week or so now. So will he be sharp? I don't know. I just feel that the better team is the underdog here. The inferior team is favored, and I don't think they should be. So Anaheim, I've been higher on Anaheim. My money line price is on my money line price would have Anaheim minus 120 here, not Anaheim as an underdog. Now plus 116 for Anaheim, pinnacle for me.
If the Ducks were minus 130, I would take them on the minus one line with confidence.
Yeah.
But with this market, I would rather have one of my friends cash on the game so I can cheer for them and not have to leave. I would have to go for a walk just to calm down with the anger, the seething anger that I would have. And this is still supposed to be fun.
I don't have a dominant record either way with that, Rem. Most. I mean, you're right. I don't mind spitting in the face of the market. I never mind it, but I'll win some and I'll lose some doing that. I don't think there's a major disparity for me personally either way, based on my history.
All right, let's move on. We have Bobano on the Sabres and the draw at plus 370. Sabres.
I'm also going to add the over in that game. The more I looked at it, every Gustafson start, other than the first start of the season against Florida, when they were adjusting to life for the first time without, Ekblad and Montour, every other Gustafson start has gone over the total. So I'm going to add over 6.5 minus 125 at DraftKings for that Wild Sabres game.
You got it. You got it locked in. Flames, Maple Leafs. I had a feeling that I wasn't going to add anything on the show today. I was open to adding something, but I had a feeling. So I did put 1.5 units on the Leafs minus one. It's going to hold my NHL success for the evening. Bobano's on the draw in Hurricanes, Panthers. Bobano's on over 6 in Capitals, Devils, and Devils and over 5.5 plus 148. Ron Crawford spreadsheet play today going for 8-0 is on New Jersey minus one at minus 115. And I'm very, very curious what's going to happen in the Devils game without, Hischier and Hughes. And what I want so badly, and I don't mean, I want you guys to win money and succeed, but for me gambling, it would be very good if the Capitals looked good here and won, because I want to fade them with every ounce in my body. I want to bet against them, just like I want to do that to the Flames. But I don't want to back the Leafs, which I am doing. So I will be fading the Capitals, but I just need them to play well here tonight to make that line easier for me. And then Sharks, Golden Knights, we are off. Bobano's on the Ducks at plus 116. Okay. We move into college football and college basketball. The time right now is 12:15 p.m. Bobano, I've received a message from LJ. He's not available for NBA for an hour and 15 minutes till 1:30. Can we keep you here till 1:30?
I won't be able to, unfortunately. We'll go as fast as humanly possible.
So when do you leave?
1.
You left leave at 1 o'clock. Okay.
Yep.
So I'll just cancel. Okay. I'll send that message. I'll cancel LJ. Okay, we're going to move on to college football here. We start Friday, November 10th, 9 p.m. Eastern. We have the North Texas Mean Green, 3-6, 1-4 in the American at the SMU Mustang, 7-2, 5-0 in the American. We're at Gerald J. Ford Stadium in Dallas, Texas. Let's get into the line history here. And we go. College football, and here we roll. We are sitting here right now with SMU and their mighty defense as 20-point favorites, minus 20. They opened up at minus 16 and they moved to minus 20, 4-cent move towards SMU. From a total scenario, here we go. From a total scenario, we're sitting at 67, very high for an SMU game. And that SMU Rice game, the score shouldn't have been that high. We're sitting here. It opened up at 68. It got down to 66.5. It's sitting right now at 67. Let's roll into the cash flow for this one. Move over to NCAA football. And here we go. We have 38% of tickets and 48% of cash on North Texas. But I mean, we've seen a 4-point move over at Pinnacle. From a total scenario, we have 44% of the tickets and 57% of cash on the over. A big story here around the line is Preston Stone with his head injury. I guess is this heavy move towards the Mustangs would be implying that Preston Stone is good to go. We'll let Bobano touch on that. If he's not good to go, we know it's the Jalen Knighton show, but we'll see. North Texas comes in off its third straight loss, 37-29 and 7.5-point dogs. Chandler Rogers has done a spectacular job. We weren't on them last week, but we cashed with them the week before. It was our best bet against South Florida, and they came back and almost won that game. It was South Florida, right? So Chandler Rogers being a monster, and North Texas being very good to gamblers. 5-1-1 against the spread over the last 7 games. North Texas 13th in passing yards per game, but their defense is atrocious. I mean, just horrific. 125th in opponent yards per play, 129th in defensive success rate. SMU comes in off its 5th straight win, 36-31 at Rice, is 12.5-point favorites. They still have their eyes on the AAC title game, 6th in the country in opponents' yards per play when facing FBS opponents, and that's being even better in conference play. Take it away, Bobano, Mean Green versus the Mustangs.
Yeah, over for me. This is actually the only official play I have on the 2 games tonight. Is this one SMU North Texas over 66 for me in this game? I've been riding SMU pretty over the total quite a bit lately. And by the way, it's over 66 minus 110 at Bookmaker. So over 66 minus 110 at Bookmaker. I don't want to lay this many with SMU. Preston Stone's questionable. He's been in concussion protocol this week for SMU, but Rhett Lashley, the head coach, said they expect him to play. So I'd expect him to be out there. So I've been waiting to get confirmation, but I think he'll be out there, which is important. He's obviously had a great season. He can run. He's got a good arm. And this offense has been electrifying this year, no question. They've been piling up the points, and they're going to pile up the points here. North Texas is a sieve on the defensive side of the football. I mean, they don't stop anybody. They've given up 37 to UTSA, 45 to Memphis, 35 to Tulane just in the last 3 weeks alone. They're going to give up a lot to SMU. SMU is scoring, 55, 69, and 36 just in the last 3 weeks alone. But North Texas's offense, and you said SMU's defense is mighty. It wasn't mighty last week against Rice. They gave up 31 points. JT Daniels got injured for Rice. Chase Jenkins had to come in at quarterback for the Owls in that game, and he even moved the football against SMU's defense. That was a much tougher game for SMU than expected. So I think because of what I saw, their defense showed some vulnerability last week against Rice. I think Chandler here for the North Texas team can move the football here in this game. That's not been a problem for North Texas. Their defense stinks, but their offense with Chandler Rogers has been very good. So I expect a lot of points over the total 66 for me.
Over 66 at minus 110 for Bobano. Big shout out to Kelly McInnes, the $10 dono, blessing our action.
Good stuff.
Thank you so much, Kelly. Go get that cash, my man. He says if you give it away, it always comes back. You're a kind man. Thank you for your support. Bobano moving on the over 66 in North Texas, SMU. Let's move on to the next spot on the board. And this was on my short list for best bets and didn't make it. And let's talk about it right now. 10:45 p.m. Eastern, Wyoming Cowboys, 6-3, 3-2 in the Mountain West at the UNLV running Rebels, 7-2, 4-1 Mountain West. Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, Nevada. This total is at 51. Opened up at 52 and has dropped to 51. Opened up 52, dropped to 51. From a spread scenario here, we have all the way down to -3 for UNLV. Wow. So we've had a big move today to Wyoming. A huge move today.
Yes.
To Wyoming. Wow. And wow. So this morning, this was 5.5. And we are down to 3. Holy shit. Let's take a look at the cash flow of on the total, 58% of the tickets, 72% cash on the under. On the spread, 76% of the tickets and 80% of cash on UNLV. Wine Time says he's all over Wyoming plus 4.5. Have them to win this game outright, but I'll take the points in my back pocket. Wow. This is wild.
It's a great game. I'm fascinated to watch it. I have 0 on it betting-wise, though.
Well, let's discuss it for everybody who could be making moves on it tonight. Wyoming comes in off a 24-15 win at home over Colorado State. It's 5.5-point favorites. The Wyoming Cowboys have always, or I shouldn't say always, but we just have this vividness bias of their defense being so strong. And that simply is not the case this year. They're 88th in EPA per play. UNLV comes in off its 6 win in 7 games, 56-14 at New Mexico's 14.5-point favorites. It's been amazing what Brendan Marion has done. Who would have thought that they'd be this dominant? 36.7 points per game. I mean, I just no one would have thought this. And they have all these guys running the ball: Vincent Davis, Jaden Thomas, and Donovan Lester, and then Jordan Maeva has been very good and also a dual threat. Take it away here for us, Bobano. Just set a table here for our squad: Cowboys, Rebels.
Yeah, I did bet UNLV and the over in this game early in the week, but I am not making those official, and I've really soured on both of those opinions. Now, I would not still go against UNLV. This has been the best point spread team in college football this year. They've been undervalued from day one, but Wyoming's dominated them. Wyoming's got the kind of profile that UNLV can struggle with, team that can pound the football on the ground. And Wyoming getting points is not an easy proposition. I'd rather bet Wyoming when they're getting points at home. I don't trust them nearly as much on the road. And I know last week they, beat Colorado State, but again, that was at home. On the road. They got blown out by Boise State in their last road game. That doesn't leave me feeling overly confident. But at the same point in time, UNLV, it's been a tough matchup historically against Wyoming. And the last time they were favored at home, UNLV, they won by 2. Against Colorado State. So they didn't cover the number. They needed to win on a last-second field goal. So I ended up just really pumping the brakes on those 2 early week bets. I wouldn't make them now. Pass for me at the current numbers.
Wow. What a huge, huge move to Wyoming.
No.
My good God. Let's move on to best bets from our guy, Bobano. We head to Saturday action, tomorrow action, and we start at 12 p.m. Eastern with the Temple Owls, 3-6, 1-4 in the American, at the South Florida Bulls, 4-5, 2-3 in the American. We're at Raymond James Stadium in Tampa, Florida. So Temple snapped their 5-game home losing streak last week with a 32-18 win at home over Navy as 7.5 point dogs. Went down 6.5. It was one of my 4 best bets. It was the absolute perfect storm. Absolute perfect storm. You have EJ Warner watching for 2 weeks. It was actually 3 weeks if you include the bye, and watching futility. I just love that. There's nothing I like more than having a quarterback you believe in sit on the sidelines, watch everything go wrong, think about what he would have done differently. Then they have the bye week, and they've lost by 100 points combined the 2 games before. It was the easiest bet of the year. I wish I had just taken money line as well and big balled out, but it was the easiest bet of the year. It was best bet and cashed easily. South Florida was CMAC's best bet from last week, and I tailed it, and it cashed, and it was tight, but it cashed. Wild 59-50 loss at Memphis. Memphis, by the way, never covers, and they're at Charlotte, and the line's been moving away.
I like Charlotte in that game, by the way. It's not on my list here, but yeah, I like Charlotte. It's on my phone.
But I can't keep going back to the well-fading Memphis against a team like Charlotte who can't score.
That's the problem, yeah.
So
I still trust them.
So I let that go. That was the spot that I was staring at, because Charlotte, I backed twice, once victoriously against East Carolina and once horrifically against Navy. But let's take a look at the line history here. This is the best bet number 1 for Bobano. We have South Florida sitting here. They open up at -7.5. They're now -7. It is a juice 7, but the market's moving towards Temple. Then we have a total here. Move over here. Then the total is sitting here at 69. It's opened up at 66.5. It's gone up 2.5 points to 69. And from a cash flow standpoint, we have, come on, show me Temple. Here we go. We have 61% of tickets and 88% of cash on Temple. I fear that they're a week late. And on the total, we have 80% of tickets and 91% cash on the over. Take it away for us here, Bobano, Temple, South Florida.
Yeah, I mean, look at what a difference EJ Warner returning at quarterback did for Temple last week. I mean, they go from having 0 offense to all of a sudden, having a great day and being able to move the football with a ton of success last week against Navy. I think that's going to continue here into this game. So as far as this game goes, Jimmy, I'm on Temple plus 7.5, -110 at Bet Rivers. So again, that's Temple plus 7.5, -110 at Bet Rivers, and also over 68. I think it's a high scoring shootout. Over 68, -110, also at Bet Rivers. I mean, South Florida can't stop anybody. They are a atrocious defense. And I cashed plus the points with South Florida in spite of that defense. But their offense is really good. Brown at quarterback has gotten better. They play extremely fast because the head coach there came from the Josh Heupel Tennessee system. So up-tempo, fast-paced, blistering pace offense. I think there's a lot of points, and I think Temple's offense with Warner back, the odds makers are slow to react to how much better they are on offense, and I think they make this a game. So Temple plus 7.5 over 68.
Locked in for Bobano. We move on to a huge football game over in the Pac-12, 3:30 p.m. Eastern. The number 18th ranked Utah Utes, 7-2, 4-2 in the Pac-12. At the 5th ranked Washington Huskies, 9-0, 6-0 in the Pac-12. We're at Husky Stadium in Seattle, Washington here. Also, I thought I had this up here, but let's just go over quickly the weather in Seattle. It's supposed to be raining all weekend here, and tomorrow at 12:30 Pacific, it's going to stop raining. So it turns into a chance of showers. I didn't realize that. I thought it was going to be raining for this one. It stops raining. Let's move on to the line history here for this one. Utes, Huskies. Sorry, that's the wrong one. I had it set up here. My bad. Here we go. Utes, Huskies, 3:30 p.m. Eastern. We have Washington. The total sitting at 49.5. This opened up at 54.5. We've dropped 5 points. I wonder if other people thought it was going to be raining, because all week I thought it was going to be raining for this one, and now it says it is not going to be raining for it. Now, of course, that could change, of course, in rainy Seattle. And then we have Washington at minus 9.5. It's moved up. It's a point different than everybody else, but as they've moved it towards Utah, Pinnacle has not. 8.5 everywhere else, 9.5 here at Pinnacle. 52% of the tickets, 70% of the cash on the under. 58% of tickets and 69% of cash on the Huskies. Utah comes in off its third win in 4 games, 55-3 at home over Arizona State. It's 9.5-point favorites. I mean, they're at home, and when they're at home, their defense is impenetrable. They held Arizona State to just 83 yards of offense and 6 first downs. Washington kept their perfect season alive with a 52-42 win at USC as 3.5-point favorites. Dylan Johnson ran for 256 yards in the win out of nowhere, seemingly. Take it away for us here, Bobano, Utes, Huskies.
Yeah, I'm on the dog here, Utah. And I love Utah as an underdog, but I usually like them more at home than on the road. And on the road, they've been a little suspect this year, but they did go into USC and beat the Trojans. Now, obviously, USC's defense stinks, but is Washington's all that much better? We've seen Washington give up points. Stanford moved the ball up and down the field against Washington a couple of weeks ago. No, I think, and I like Bryson Barnes. He's getting better. He's using his legs more in the pocket, to extend plays. I like seeing that from him at the quarterback spot. And to me, this is a Washington team that's been playing with fire lately. They've been in a lot of close games. They haven't been playing at a level where they've been winning games comfortably by margin. And look, the biggest thing I wanted to see from Utah last week is after they got embarrassed at home by Oregon, was there a response? Was there a Utah team that would respond to that, or are they going to just let their season crumble? And obviously, I should have known with Kyle Whittingham that was not going to happen. He's just that good of a coach. And look at how they pummeled Arizona State last week. Got the kids right back on track, feeling good again, got them motivated, say, wait, we got a lot of season left, guys. Let's keep going. And they sure did. I like Utah here in this one, plus the points. It looks like there's plus 9.5 right now at Pinnacle for Utah in this game. And it's minus 105. So let me just quickly look here.
Yeah, here. I got it up here.
And I'm going to actually I'm going to go to plus 10 on the all point spread line at Pinnacle. Plus 10 minus 118. Perfect. And it's not too much juice. You get the key number plus 10. So there we go. Utah plus 10 minus 118 at Pinnacle.
You got it. Yes, Don, play. We are talking NCAA basketball. We got to keep moving quickly here so we can get the games in. Let's move on to the next ball on the board for Bobano. 3:30 p.m. Eastern. Number 15 ranked Oklahoma State Cowboys, 7-2, 5-1 in the Big 12 at UCF Knights, 4-5, 1-5 in the Big 12. Let's get into the line history here for this one. We have UCF at a pretty fishy plus 2.5. This got up to 3 a few times. Every time it got to 3, it got hammered, I'm guessing, because it would come back down to 2.5. Let's get to the total here for this one. Popping off at 3:30 p.m. We have Eastern. We have it's sitting at 65.5, juice to the under, minus 111. This opened up at 64. It's now at 65.5. And cash wise here, We have 52% of tickets and 60% of cash on UCF. And on the total, 79% of tickets, 91% of cash on the over. You know, Oklahoma State comes in off a monstrous victory. And I get it that this is an expected letdown spot, but it's hard to. This is one of those crazy college football spots, man. I can't wait to hear you break it down. So they come off their fifth straight win, 27-24 at home over Oklahoma in the last scheduled Bedlam, a 7.5-point dogs. UCF snapped their 5-game losing streak with a 28-26 win at Cincinnati, as 3.5-point favorites. Cincinnati was my best bet, or one of the 4 best bets from last week. I took so much trash on the video. People saying that I obviously don't watch Cincinnati games and how they've given up and all this shit, but I cashed it. Take it away, Bobano. Cowboys, Knights.
Yeah, I was not in a hurry to lay with UCF. I didn't want Cincinnati either, like the rest of the people, but I didn't bet UCF either. And I don't want UCF here, but I obviously see it's not an Oklahoma State spot. Okay, huge, obviously potential letdown after Oklahoma, but you got to have more to the argument than it's a letdown spot to bet UCF. You got to think the matchup's good. You got to think their offense is going to work. You got to think their defense is going to play well enough. Because we saw this last week with Kansas, Iowa State. Everyone loved Iowa State because Kansas is coming off the Oklahoma win, just like Oklahoma State is here, and Kansas lost to Iowa State. So you got to have more to your bet handicap than just the letdown factor if you're going to bet UCF here. I am on the over in this game. That's my look here in this one, Oklahoma State UCF. I think this is where the week where we see Oklahoma State's defense kind of sag a little bit after the big win against Oklahoma. But I don't trust UCF's defense against Alan Bowman and this Oklahoma State offense, which for weeks has just been rolling and putting up the points in bunches. And it's not a very good UCF defense. Last time they were at home, West Virginia just absolutely destroyed this defense here at the Bounce House. So I'm going to go with let me just see here the number that's available here at Pinnacle here with over with Oklahoma State and UCF. We'll go with over 65 minus 113 at Pinnacle.
You know, the reason why I didn't move on Iowa State last week and the difference that I see market-wise this week was last week, what was it, 91% of the cash was on Iowa State?
Yeah.
And that just made me nervous. This week, 52% of tickets, 60% of cash. Now, this is a pretty ugly pig here in UCF, but again, I agree with Bobano. Like, now everybody has their own way. You have complete autonomy with how you want to cap, but if I always feel like things should correlate. You know, you need to have the market move in your favor, and then the X's and O's have to be working in your favor too.
I agree. Yeah.
So
I've been on Oklahoma State like 4 weeks in a row and cashed each time. I'm off them this week because it's that obvious after the big win last week in Bedlam, but I'm also not fading them either. So nothing on the side here.
We move on. 7 p.m. Eastern. West Virginia Mountaineers 6-3, 4-2 in the Big 12. At number 17th ranked Oklahoma Sooners 7-2, 4-2 in the Big 12. Memorial Stadium in Norman, Oklahoma. Let's move on to the line history here for this one. This one popping off 7 p.m. Now, we already discussed this with CMAC. This is one of his best bets, and we love when we have cappers like you guys correlating on a best bet. So we'll see if that comes to fruition. This opened up at 58, the total. It's gone up a point to 59, 58 to 59. And from a spread scenario here, move over here very quickly. From a spread scenario here, we're at 11. Now, this was given out by CMAC on Wednesday to us at plus 13.5. And we are now at 11 with Oklahoma. Remember, would be the third week in a row that CMAC has faded Oklahoma. So we've had a big move towards West Virginia. And when we get to the cash flow for this one, get there quickly. Here we go. We have it. Wow. It looks like people are just going to keep getting paid fading Oklahoma. It's just 54% of the tickets and 54% of the cash on West Virginia. So it's not like, wow. Then you have 73% tickets, 76% cash on the over. Take it away for us, Bobano. Mountaineers, Sooners.
Yeah, for me, it's those same two looks. And I knew Connor would be on West Virginia because we did the Monday show hitting the books, which you should be watching every Monday, 1 p.m. Eastern. We talked about this game. We both lined up with West Virginia. I mean, to me, Oklahoma's been overvalued ever since the win against Texas several weeks ago. Ever since they had that win, all of a sudden, the odds makers put Oklahoma in a stratosphere they don't belong. They're a much improved team, but now they've been an overvalued point spread team for weeks now. And if you've been onto it, you've been able to cash in with going against this team because I don't believe they have cashed a ticket since that Texas win. No, they've not. Since the Texas win, they had the bye week, 0-3 straight up, or 0-3 against the spread. They barely beat UCF as 17-point favorites, and they lost outright as favorites at Kansas and Oklahoma State last week. So ever since that game, they've been overvalued. Their defense has regressed a little bit. They're not that same defense they were early in the season. I think against a surging West Virginia offense that's rolling right now, Garrett Green's playing awesome. They've scored 30s in 4 straight games. They'll put up the points. But I think Oklahoma will move the ball. It's why I like over 57.5 here, minus 125 at Bet Victor. So that's over 57.5, minus 125. And I'm also on West Virginia, plus 13, minus 110 at Bet 365.
Wow, that's a nice line over it. But
yeah, excellent. I couldn't believe it's still 13 there. Yep.
They can be slow.
Yep.
West Virginia plus 13. That's a minus 110.
Yeah, minus 110.
13 and minus 110 in the over 57.5. Wow, that's a great line. We move on. We got to be tight. 7 p.m. Eastern. Next up for us, we head to the Mountain West. San Diego State Aztecs 3-6, 1-4 in conference. To the Colorado State Rams 3-6, 1-4 in conference. We're at Canvas Stadium in Fort Collins, Colorado. Line history-wise, Colorado State opened up at -4. They're now -3.5. We have a half-point move towards San Diego State. Let's take a look at what's going on with the total in this one. We have here. Okay, here we go. We have this total at 46.5 right now. Opened up at 47.5. It's dropped 1 point down to 46.5. We take a look at the cash flow for this one. We have 25% of the tickets and 62% of cash on the under. 25 and 62. From a spread scenario, 74% of tickets and 85% of the cash is on San Diego State. It's a lot of money on San Diego State. At least it's moved a half point. They're coming off their second straight loss, 32-24 at home at Utah State in double overtime as 2.5-point favorites. Colorado State comes in off its third straight loss, 24-15 at Wyoming as 5.5-point dogs. Take it away here for us, Bobano, Aztecs, Rams.
Straight fade of San Diego State. I think this team's given up. But I think Brady Hoke's done. Finished there. He has to be. This is atrocious for this program, the way it's become. 3-6. They're 1-6 straight up the last 7. Their only win in the last 7 games for the Aztecs was against Hawaii, who have fallen apart, and they only beat them by 7. Okay, this San Diego State team is dreadful. Their defense is a sieve. It's not net. They are a brutal. They were always a great defense back when Rocky Long was there. Now they can't stop anybody. And now you got to trust this team from California going to the cold of Fort Collins, Colorado, for Colorado State. Not a chance here. I think it's cheap on Colorado State. Colorado State's not a great team. They got the same record, but they at least beat Boise State on this home field. They've had a tough schedule. They played UNLV, Air Force, Wyoming, 3 pretty good Mountain West teams. This is a big step down in class, in my opinion. Huge step down in class for Colorado State. And to me, this is just a San Diego State team that is just bad on both sides of the ball. And the way they have fallen off on defense, especially, it is something, considering how good they've been on that side of the football in years past. So, I've been going against San Diego State a lot this season, and we're going to be against them once again here with Colorado State here in this game. And I'm pretty sure as well, this is a night game. Yes, it is. Or it's a late afternoon game in Fort Collins. So we're going to go with Colorado State here. I'm going to go with the alternate spread on Pinnacle to get -3. So I'm going to go with a -3, minus 124 at Pinnacle.
-3 at -124. It is 43 Fahrenheit. They got lucky. It could have been much colder. 43 Fahrenheit at game time, clear, 5 miles per hour, and 3. Oh, sorry, it's 4 o'clock. So sorry, my bad. It's 5 o'clock, right? They're 2 hours behind.
5 o'clock's local time. Yep.
So it's about 51 Fahrenheit, 5 miles per hour. It gets down to like 43, 42. The Aztecs got very fortunate there. The final game for Bobano's best bet, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Florida Gators 5-4, 3-3 in the SEC at the number 19th ranked LSU Tigers, 6-3, 4-2 in the SEC. We're at Tiger Stadium, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Take a look at the line history here for this one, popping off at 7:30. We have the total at 67. Opened up at 63.5, and the first move was towards the under. This went down to 62.5 before climbing like a rocket up to 67. Let's get into the spread here for this one. We have NCAA football best bets with Bobano here. Friday action on betting with the bag. We have the spread at 15 at Pinnacle. Open up minus 13.5 and has climbed up to 15 for the LSU Tigers. And when we get to the cash flow here for this one, so here we go. We have 45% of the tickets and 57% of the cash on LSU. And total wise, here we have 80% of the tickets and 92% cash on the over, and we watched it skyrocket up. Take it away for us. Florida comes in off their second straight loss, 39-36 in overtime at home over Arkansas as 3.5-point favorites. And LSU comes in off having their 3-game winning streak snapped in a 42-28 loss at Alabama as 3.5-point dogs. Take it away, Bobano. Gators, Tigers.
Yeah, I'm going to keep it simple here. This has been a meal ticket for me all season. Death taxes, LSU overs. 10 straight overs for the LSU Tigers. Why would we get off the train at this point? And look at the series history, Florida, LSU. Last 2 years, 45-35, 80 points last year, 49-42, 91 points 2 years ago when these two teams met. Neither defense is trustworthy. Florida can't stop good offenses, and even Arkansas last week puts 39 against them. Georgia puts 43 against them, 39 to South Carolina, and this is an even better, more explosive offense with Jaden Daniels and LSU. They're going to give up 30s or 40s. LSU will do what they do, and that's give up probably at least 30 or so to Florida. Graham Mertz has actually played a little bit better than I thought at Florida. Florida will contribute enough here to this total. Again, LSU, every game's gone over. We're not stopping now. We'll go with over 65.5 minus 110 at Bet365.
Over 65.5 at minus 110 for Bobano. Let's review Bobano's best bets before we get into college basketball. 9 p.m. Oh, sorry, that's Friday. My bad. On Saturday, we start with Temple plus 7.5 and the over 68 in Temple, South Florida. Then Bobano's on the plus 10 for the Utes. Utah plus 10. You got that at minus 119. Again, all of these lines are available as we speak. Bobano's on the over 65 in Oklahoma State UCF. He's on West Virginia plus 13 and the over 57.5. On Wednesday, we got West Virginia plus 13.5 at minus 109 from CMAC. Bobano's on Colorado State minus 3 at minus 124. He's on the over 65.5 in Florida LSU. And a review of my best bets on Wednesday and Thursday. I have just 4 spots that I've moved on. And I wish we had more time with Bobano because I have a question, but I can't. I'll have to ask him, privately. I'm so close to moving on. I didn't even want to talk about it because it'll just bring up a time that we don't have. I have Navy plus 3, Wake Forest plus 2.5, California money line, and Purdue money line are my 4 spots. Excellent job, Bobano, my man. We move on to college basketball, and we have to work quickly. We start, and we have picked the 8 high-profile games. We start at 7 p.m. Eastern. The number 12 ranked Arizona Wildcats, 1-0 on the season. At number 2, Duke Blue Devils. We're at Cameron Indoor Stadium in Durham, North Carolina. Let's talk about the line history here for this giant basketball game. And we have, come on, show your face. No time for me to be fumbling around with the bag here. God.
Don't fumble the bag. You're Jimmy the bag. Yeah.
Thank you. Here we go. We have Duke. Oh, that's wager. Of course, whenever I try to speed things up, I start panicking. We have Pinnacle sitting here with Duke at minus 5.5. It's opened up at minus 4. It's now at minus 5.5. A 1.5 move towards the Blue Devils. From a total standpoint here, we have sitting at 154. This opened up at 153, and it's now 154. And then after this game, we'll use Bet Online. I should have been using Bet Online because they come to the market first. They'll give us a better idea of what's going on, even though there's limits on the first little while where it's available. Take it away for us here, Bobano. Arizona, Duke.
I'm on Arizona. I love this Wildcats team this year. I think this is a little too much respect, too much love for Duke right now. And now that I can get 5.5 here with Arizona, minus 106 at Pinnacle, plus 5.5 on the Wildcats, I'm taking them. I think one of the great things about Tommy Lloyd is he's recruited great. He's got quality bigs. He's got depth. They play defense. They crash the boards. What held Arizona back last year was horrific point guard play. Kirk Risa was not a great point guard last year for this team. He's gone. He's out of there. He hindered them a little bit. And now they've got the guy from North Carolina in there, Caleb Love, transferred over to Arizona. I think it's made a world of difference here for Arizona in this game. And to me, look, Duke's phenomenal. Filipowski's probably going to win the Wooden Award this year. He's the favorite to win that award. No question about that. But I think this Arizona team is also a legit national title contender this year. And, I like them plus 5.5 because I'm higher than the market on this team. So plus 5.5 Arizona for me.
Plus 5.5. Could you give
Great
me
game, though. Excellent game.
The juice on that? Because I'm going to be setting
minus 106.
Minus 106. Plus 5.5 on Arizona. Plus minus 105. Minus 106. Sorry, minus 106. All right, we move on. Next up, we hit the Hall of Fame series in Charlotte. 7 p.m. Eastern, the Virginia Cavaliers, Florida Gators meeting at the Spectrum Center in Charlotte, North Carolina. The spread won't give us the story here because it's sitting at 1. So why don't we move over to the money line, see if we can get a story here. We'll move over to Bet Online. We're going to use Bet Online for the remainder of these breakdowns. Bet Online has Florida right now at minus 105. They opened at minus 102. This didn't become available till 7:54 this morning, so it's just been a 3-cent move towards Florida. From a total scenario, we're sitting at 136.5. This opened up at 135. Interestingly enough, this total came out early. Oh, again, I'm on. It's because I'm on Pinnacle. Maybe Pinnacle came out with this line earlier. This opened up at 135. It dropped down to 133.5 before climbing to 136.5. When we get into the cash flow for this one, which I didn't drop in that first game, which was important. So I should probably mention what it was in the first game. I think that will be helpful. In the first game, 58% of tickets and 57% of the cash is on Arizona. And market moving slightly towards Duke, and then 29% of tickets and 35% of cash on the under. In the Virginia-Florida game, we have 32% of tickets and 62% of cash on the over. We've watched that climb. And then we have 40% of the tickets and 54% of cash on the Cavaliers. Take it away for us here, Bobano, Cavs, Gators.
So this is another one where, look, Virginia, Tony Bennett, we respect him. We like the way he's done. What he's done with this program, national champion head coach. I get all that. I'm not convinced this is his best Virginia team by any stretch of the imagination. And I think Todd Golden is really ready to ascend this Florida Gators program this year and ascend to much greater heights. That's a pretty solid Tarleton State team that they dismantled in their first game, Loyola Maryland 93-73. Virginia beat Tarleton State 80-50. I like Florida here a little bit, +1 in this game. I'm going to take Florida here in this game, getting the point. I think they're an improved offensive group. I like what I saw in the first game from them. Actually, it's +1.5, minus 110 at Bet Rivers. I think Florida is going to be one of those. SEC is loaded this year, but I think Florida is going to be one of those teams that are definitely going to be improved. So Florida +1.5 here against Virginia.
Florida +1.5. We roll on, but we stay. Oh, well, I guess that game's in Charlotte, but we're in Florida, Coral Gables for the next spot. UCF Knights, they opened their season with an 85-62 win over Florida International against the Hurricanes. The Hurricanes ranked 13th right now. They opened their season with a dominant 41-point victory over NJIT. Let's get into the line history here for this one. Move over here, and we'll start with the spread in this one. Damn it, I'm still on money line. Sorry. Let's move over to the spread. No one's going to want that here. And here we go. I'm going to go back to Pinnacle. I was surprised that Bet Online opened that last line out so late. Miami now sitting at -9.5. They opened up at -7.5. We've had a 2-point move towards the Hurricanes. From a total standpoint here, here we go. We have the total at 145. This opened up at 147.5. So we have a 2.5-point move to the under and a 2-point move towards the Hurricanes. With that move towards the Hurricanes, you have 48% of the tickets and 69% of the cash on the Hurricanes. So bigger bets coming in on them. And from a total look, 79% of tickets and 90% of cash on that under. Take it away for us here, UCF Knights, Miami Hurricanes, Bobano.
I mean, I love this Miami team going back to last year. They were an unbelievable profit machine for me. Much of the regular season, whether it was them or betting their overs, whether it was in the NCAA tournament when they made that run to the Final Four. Love Jimmy Larinaga. I've sung his praises a million times. But I actually lean UCF here. I didn't bet it, though. I respect Miami too much. But UCF has given this team problems the last 2 years. 2-point win last year for Miami. UCF beat them 2 years ago. For some reason, you get UCF Miami together, and this is a tough game for the Hurricanes. And, you're asking them to win by double digits. And, UCF is probably going to struggle in the Big 12 as they make that ascension into that conference. And they did lose a lot. I mean, as far as starters and returning minutes, they don't have a lot back from last year. So that's the big concern here against Miami. But styles make fights, and UCF has been a tough out for Miami. So that's kept me off this game.
All right, we are off this one. Let's move on to the next spot on the board. And we head to Value City Arena in Columbus, Ohio. The number 15th ranked Texas A&M Aggies at Ohio State Buckeyes. The Ohio State Buckeyes had a real tough time dispatching the Oakland Grizzlies, winning by 6 points here. And they were 19.5-point favorites. So an ugly start to the year for them. For the Aggies, they had a pretty easy opportunity against Texas A&M Commerce. They won 78-46 in that one, and just shut Texas A&M Commerce down defensively. From a line movement perspective here with A&M, we have A&M as 1.5-point dogs. 1.5-point dogs. They opened as favorites, -1 yesterday at 5:42 p.m., and now they're 1.5-point dogs. So we've had the dog to favorite flip here. From a cash flow perspective, we are sitting here at 139.5. Oh, sorry. From a total perspective, it opened up at 137.5, now at 139.5. So we've gone up 2 points. And cash flow wise, we have, let me get to A&M here. We have 80% of tickets and 87% of cash on the over, even though it's dropping. I said dropping, right? No, it went up 2 points. That makes sense. Sorry about that. So 80% of tickets, 87% of cash on the over, and it's gone up. And from a spread scenario here, we have 86% of the tickets and 88% of the cash on Texas A&M, and yet it's flipped from dog to favorite. Piqued my interest. Bobano, take it away. Aggies, Buckeyes.
Yeah, I don't get this move. A&M has got way more returning starters, way more experience, 82% of their returning minutes back. And I think they're the better team as well. And I think they're going to be a really good squad this year. They've got backcourt. They've got the size down low, played some defense. They're efficient on offense. There's a lot to like with the A&M team. And you're right, Ohio State, to me, this is a team that doesn't have the same amount of experience or returning production as A&M. They're expected to be a mid-pack to below, mid to below average team in the Big Ten this year, Ohio State. I'm surprised there's been love for the Buckeyes to this extent. And as you know, I am never frightened of going against a move in the market, and I'm going against this one with A&M. I'm taking them +1.5.
+1.5, and what?
+2. I can get +2 -110 at Bet Rivers. We'll take that.
+2 at -110 for A&M. We roll on 9 p.m. Eastern. Yale Bulldogs 1-0 on the year at the number 11th ranked Gonzaga Bulldog. Bulldog versus Bulldog, and we close the show with Tiger versus Tiger. McCarthy Athletic Center in Spokane, Washington. The only thing to do in Spokane is to watch the Zags play. Let's go to 9 p.m. Eastern and see what the line history is for this one. We have, move over here and lock it down for our guy Bobano. Gonzaga Bulldogs playing their first game of the year, open up at -13.5. It gets all the way down to 11.5, a little bit of buyback at 12. So a move towards the Yale basketball team. Then from a total scenario, oh shoot, that's BYU, my bad. That's next game. From a total scenario, we're sitting at 154. This opened up at 153. It's now 154. So we got a 1-point move. And then when we get to the cash flow here for this 9 p.m. start, we have get there. Here we go. We have 42% of the tickets and 82% of the cash on Yale. And then from a total look, we have 76% of tickets and 85% of cash on the under. Wow, this is wild. Take it away, Bobano. Yale, Gonzaga.
Yeah, this one I'm on the Yale Bulldogs. I think there's something to Yale's got played a game. Now, Yale played an easy opponent, but they've at least played a game. This is Gonzaga's first game of the season. So Does that give an advantage here to a Yale? Yale, by the way, is plus 12.5, minus 115 at Sports Interaction. Okay, that's where I bet it. Plus 12.5, minus 115 at Sports Interaction. First game of the year for Gonzaga, and I'm not totally sure Gonzaga is as good as they've been the last few years under Mark Few. Normally we know this team, recruits well, but again, they've had some big-time players in the last couple of years that have jettisoned on. And what we've seen too from Gonzaga the last couple of years is we've seen this team defensively really have problems early in the season. We've seen it now multiple years in a row. That makes laying double digits with them not an easy task. I think for Yale, out of the Ivy League, we've seen this team get to the NCAA tournament before. This is a team that's got 73% of their returning minutes back this season. They are expected to be the favorite to win the Ivy League. I think they can stay competitive here with a Gonzaga team. We've seen bad defense from them early in the new season in recent years. So give me Yale here, plus the points to keep this game relatively competitive.
I find it a very interesting look here. I find it appealing to join you on Yale. Let's move on to 9 p.m. Eastern, 17th ranked San Diego State Aztecs, 1-0 on the year. The BYU Cougars were in Provo, Utah for BYU action. Line history-wise, this opened up with BYU as 2.5-point favorites. They've moved just to 2-point favorites. Total-wise, this opened up at 146. It's all the way up to 148. Cash flow-wise, 75% of the tickets and 95% of the cash are on the under. 75 and 95, and yet this climbs. And yet this climbs 2 points to the over. If you could touch on that total, if you can, that would be helpful for me here, Bobano. And then from a spread scenario, we have 42% of the tickets and 59% of cash on BYU. And as we've watched it move a half point towards San Diego State. Take it away for us here, Bobano, Aztecs Cougars.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned here, Jimmy, in this game, it's a pace war. BYU is going to push pace. 32 in the country, adjusted tempo here early in the season. They played fast last year too under Mark Pope. And San Diego State wants to slow this down, as always, under Brian Dutcher. So who's going to get their preferred pace in this game? That's going to be the big question. These two teams are familiar with one another. They played each other a lot here in years past. BYU is going to be typical BYU. Okay, BYU is going to be able to score a bunch of points. This actually is probably one of their better offensive teams in recent years. San Diego State played an 83-57 game against Fullerton in their first game. That game went over the total. I think what people see, Jimmy, with betting the over here is that even though San Diego State plays slow, I think this is one of their better offensive teams, and they're efficient. They're going to take good shots. They're going to get good looks. And I think you're going to see that here against BYU. Meanwhile, with BYU, they're a good offensive team, and they are going to push pace, no question. And look, these two teams met last year, Jimmy, 82-75. Game flew over the total. 139, it had 157. So I actually agree with this move. This is also on my card. I'm on over the total here. San Diego State, BYU, over 145.5 minus 125 at ProLine Plus.
Wild. With all of this money on the under, it climbs. That has to pique my interest. What was the under that you got? Or sorry, the over. What was the total?
145.5 minus 125, ProLine Plus. Again, 159 in the matchup last year between these two teams. And I think San Diego State's a better offensive team this year. Even though they're going to play slow, they're going to be efficient. And BYU is going to be able to, they can make shots. They're a good offensive unit. And they're going to play fast, very fast. So I think you can get over that total.
Very quickly, 2 games left. Can we go through them quickly?
Yeah, we got time. I can hang for 2 more minutes.
We have next up for us, we have Tennessee Volunteers at the Wisconsin Badgers, Kohl Center, Madison, Wisconsin. Both teams starting their season off with a victory. Over in the line history side of things, we have Tennessee opening up at -1.5. They're now -2.5. We have a 1-point move over there. And from a total side of things, we have it opening up at 134.5 and dropping down to 132.5. So I just need to. So we have the 1-point move to Tennessee, and we have a 2-point move towards the under. Then when we take a look at where the cash is for this one, 64% of the tickets and 53% of the cash on the under. So it seems like semi-public, but bigger bets coming in on the over. Seen the line move 2 points. And then we have 56% of the tickets and 74% of the cash on the Volunteers. 56 and 74. And we've seen it move 1 point in their direction. Take it away for us here, Bobano. Volunteers, Badgers.
Yeah, there's a pass for me, but I would lean under. I agree with the move down. I mean, you got two teams that are in the 300s in tempo. Neither one's going to push the ball up the court. And don't be fooled by the first Wisconsin game. You're going to see Wisconsin put up a huge number, flew over the total. They played Arkansas State. Arkansas State's new head coach is a former assistant of Nate Oates at Alabama. And guess what we know Alabama to be all these years? Yeah, up tempo, really, really push pace. And he's bringing that to Arkansas State. And Arkansas State got that game going up and down the court, and Wisconsin just sliced a bad defensive team. Don't be fooled by that. Wisconsin doesn't want to play, 85, 82 basketball. They want to play, half court basketball. They want to get back to that. They're probably going to get back to that in a big game. And these are two teams that are capable of being very good defensively. We know Tennessee is pretty good defensively most years. So I agree with the total move down. I'm torn on the side. I need to see more from both of these teams. I'm never really rushing to lay points with Rick Barnes on the road. It's just not for me. I think Tennessee is the better team. I'd lean to the Vols, but not enough to bet it. It's a pass.
Interesting. A 1-point move to Tennessee at this point. The final game on the board for Bobano's college basketball actions, Tiger versus Tiger in Mizzou Arena in Columbus, Missouri. Memphis Tigers, Missouri Tigers battling here for early season glory. Damn it, I just had this up. Right now we have Missouri opening up at -2. They got up to -3. There now is a half point of buyback. But not only that, Memphis heavily juiced. So it's really a 2, I would say. And then from a total scenario here, we have it sitting at 161. It opened up at 159.5. The other books haven't moved it. Only Pinnacle has moved it to 161. The other books have not moved it yet. The other books are sitting at 159.5 that I see. And then we come to the cash flow here for Missouri, Memphis. Show me. There we go. 40% of the tickets and 75% of the cash is on Missouri. 40 and 75. So big bets coming in on Missouri. And from a total scenario, 24% of the tickets and 59% of the cash on the under. But we just watched it move a 1.5 over at Pinnacle. Our final college basketball game on the board. Great job, Bobano. Memphis Tigers, Missouri Tigers. Take it away.
Yeah, this one's pretty straightforward for me over the total. Both teams going to push pace. Neither team is one I trust at the defensive end of the basketball court just yet. Memphis has had defensive issues at times last year, even into the tournament. They got into the tournament, but their defense was on and off last year. And in the first game against Jackson State, they gave up 77 points. And Jackson State really didn't do as well against San Diego, the Toreros, when they played them. So you've got defensive issues for Memphis, in my opinion. Missouri should be able to score, but I like Memphis offensively and Missouri defensively still last year. Many of their games, they're giving up, 70s on and off with defense as well. You're going to get plenty of pace here, like I said, between these two teams in this game. So I like high number, but I was on Tulane over 157 last night, and they played Northwestern State. It got over. You can't be scared sometimes to bet some of these high totals over if you think the pace is going to be there and the efficiency offensively is going to be there. And I do think we're going to see that here tonight. So over 159.5 minus 110 at FanDuel.
Over 159.5 at -110. That concludes Bobano's college basketball action. I will review the rest of Bobano's action.
Yeah, I got to run. So you can recap.
But Bobano, do your thing. And thank you so much for your hard work. And I'll review it right now as you're gone. Please follow Bobano on X at Bobano. And of course,
I knew we'd get through everything. I knew it, even though I had to go at 1. Yeah, I knew we'd get through it all.
I'm impressed. We sped up. And then I just shut up for college basketball. Just line moves. I love it. Great job, Bobano. Thank you for all your hard work. Every Friday, catch Bobano right here on Benny with the Bag, and he crushes it. So be well. Any last words, Bobano?
No, just quickly, Jimmy, good luck this weekend. Good luck to everyone in the chat. Let's have a big weekend, and we'll see you again next Friday.
I love it. There he is, Bobano. To review his action, also, we got a best bet from our guy, Tori Coker. Great basketball capper. He gave us Temple first half -3. And here in NCAAB, we have Arizona +5.5 -106, Florida +1.5 at -110. He's on A&M +2 at -110. And I tell you, this flip from dog to favorite, and Ohio State looking bad against Oakland, I find really appealing on Ohio State. I'm going to have to sit with it after the show, but I'm very interested. And then the two spots that I would like to join him on, Yale plus 12.5 that he's on, I'm interested in. And then the over in Aztecs BYU, I'm interested in that as well. Volunteers, Wisconsin, he stayed off. He's on the over 159.5 in Memphis, Missouri. And that is our action here on Betting with the Bag for college basketball. We move on to NBA. And our next guest rushed to make sure that he could be here for his time slot. That means a lot to all of us in the low bag community. I absolutely love capping with him. He is the star of the Trill OG play of the day and a big part of what we do here at Pub Sports Radio. And if you want to hang with our guy, you come to Pubapalooza. Come to Pubapalooza, third week of March. I think it's like 24th, 25th. We're going to have the exact date set, but that's the week before Easter. Come run with us in San Antonio. Please welcome from Houston, Texas, LJ from H-Town.
Pub Sports Radio's the crew, that's a fact. We all about bread, making bank accounts fat. Who the hell is that? LJ from the H, I stack green like Boston. Shout out to Nasty Nate from down south, where we ride on slab. 420 highway smoking with that boy Daby Cab. Swing by Dallas with them Cowboy fans so we can smoke out J Money, cause you know that's our mans. Us against the bookies, put money in our pockets. Fly out to Vegas, meet up with Ski Profit. Hit the sports books, we got money to stack. Can't forget them college picks with that boy Connor Mack.
LJ, what's good? Welcome to the show. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great, Jimmy. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, it sounds good.
Awesome. Rushed off work, my job, tripping with me. But hey, I made the show. Get the people some money. Let's talk some NBA Friday.
Let's do it. And thank you for rushing to get here on time. We are ready to rock and roll here. Let me make sure I've got everything set here for our breakdowns. Give me 1 second. There we go there. And let me get up this here. We are ready to go. While I'm setting this up quickly, what were your thoughts about the Mexico City game and the Bucks on the back-to-back against Pacers on back-to-back?
Well, the Bucks, I knew that Giannis was going to come out, strong because he got ejected the game before. So that was an easy play for Giannis to get his points, and the win. But far as the Mexico game, I didn't watch one dribble of that game. I wasn't interested in it, so I just, sat back and watched a little bit of Giannis of how he responded. But far as the second game, I didn't peep not one dribble of that game.
One of the things that's so crucial, and everybody can handle, of course, we talk about the autonomy within what we do here, but I have this rule, this steadfast rule, that I will not live bet a game I'm not watching.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what, no matter if it, and in that game, we all thought, well, they're going to get heavy legs, in the elevation. And so when it was at 137.5, the live told me 137.5, I was like, oh God. And I was like, no, stay away from it. Just focus on the football game. We cashed the under 40.5 live there. And I say, stay away. And then it got up to 157.5. Of course, they just kept scoring. Then it dropped late, but still, it's a very, very important rule for me. You guys, people don't have to follow it, but I think it's crucial. If you're going to live bet a game, make sure you have your eyes on the game, not just your capping and you see the score. But we can get into all that stuff later. All right, let's get to work here. We got LJ on our Friday spot, and we have, I think it's a 9-game NBA card. We start at 7 p.m. Eastern here with the Philadelphia 76ers. What a great start to the year. Perfectly predicted by Dennis Garcia, by the way. 6-1 to get rolling. Now, 7 games played, 5 of being at home. Here they head out on the road. Detroit Pistons 2-7, 1-3 at home. Little Caesars Arena in Detroit, Michigan. We have these Sixers on a pretty impressive winning streak. We just saw them on Wednesday night defeating the Celtics 106-103 at home and covering there as a home dog. The Pistons, on the other hand, have looked good at times, and they played the Bucks very hard in Milwaukee on Wednesday evening, losing 120-118, and came very close to cashing that one on the money line. Let's move over to the line history here for this one. We have Detroit. Oh, wrong book. So let's go back to Pinnacle. We have Detroit sitting here as 9.5-point dogs. This opened up at 8. We've had a 1.5-point move towards these Philadelphia 76ers. From a total standpoint, we are sitting at Pinnacle again. We're sitting at 224. This opened up at 222. It got all the way up to 225 and a half. So we've had a point and a half of buyback deemed just too high. Then from the cash flow, they're not giving us any information for whatever reason on the spread. But on the total, 87% of tickets and 90% cash on the over. I don't know why they're not giving us the spread information. There's 22,800 tickets in. Take it away for us here. LJ, game one on the board, Sixers Pistons.
Yeah, Jimmy, I'm looking at the Sixers in this game. I like the fact that Harden is now gone. The distractions are out of the locker room. And these guys can actually lock in and play some basketball. And I love the fact that Maxey has moved into that point guard role that James Harden was taken away from him. So we can see the improvement that Maxey is in that offense, giving him points and assists. And, of course, Joel Embiid in the paint dominating, current MVP of the league. He's continued to keep doing what he's doing. Detroit is not a good matchup for the Sixers, even though the Sixers are all on the road. I believe the Sixers take care of business early. And I'm going to jump on the first half, Jimmy. I believe it's -4.5 Sixers, -115 is what I'm going to play. Simply because the Sixers, last 3 games, they're +10 in first half point margin. Detroit, last 3 games, ranked 25th, -9 first half point margin. So don't want to have to worry about the full game. Let's just take the Sixers early. Detroit is not, competition for them. So I expect the Sixers to handle business. Maxey get his points, and B definitely will score 30 because I believe he's averaged 30 plus the last 3 games versus Detroit. So he should definitely handle business, take care of business, and 76ers should easily win this game. But I'm going to stick to what's consistent and what I see. Sixers first half, -4.5.
Sixers first half -4.5 and -115. Pinnacles moved this to -116. You can still get it -115. My bookies moved this to 5.5. So this is a moving market right now.
Yep.
Billy Bridge says 5 of the Sixers' last 6 road games against the Pistons following a home win have gone over the total. Billy Bridge says Tobias Harris revenge game. And Troy Torrance is off some huge wins at home. Now they're on the road in Detroit for a spot road game. They got Pacers and Celtics on deck. So here we go, and we're locked in from our guy. Brizzy is on the over in this one. Also in the over in Chicago, Washington, and OKC, Sacramento. Let me copy and paste all this information as we know how skilled Brizzy is. Fat Cat Ninja on the other side. He's on Detroit +9 in the under 224. And Mike Wilkerson's on Maxey points, rebounds, and assists over. What a great basketball player Maxey is, man.
He is.
A real deal. LJ's on the board. First half -4.5, -115. We move on to the next spot on the board, 7 p.m. Eastern. Charlotte Hornets, Washington Wizards. We just heard from Brizzy that he is on the over in this one. Capital One Arena in Washington, D.C. Let's go over the situation here and set up the line history. The Hornets coming off 2 straight losses. The last one was ugly. 132-116 versus Washington, losing by 16. The last 2 opponents, if you go back, there has not been an opponent this season, right? Other was maybe that first game of the year. God, this Hornets defense is just abysmal. Those first 2 games of the year, at home, we had them against Atlanta at home. They win 116-110. Then they lose to Detroit 111-99. Since then, no team has scored less than 124 points against them.
Yep.
I mean, that's just what. I mean, I don't know how you can manage to keep your emotions in check if you're coaching the squad and watching this non-existent defensive play. For the Wizards, though, that snapped a losing streak. And it was a big win for them, this spot here. So this was on Wednesday night. Wizards put 132 on them, and now they come back to Washington. Is Charlotte capable of delivering any revenge? That's the question. This line tells you that they are. This line has Charlotte +1. This opened up with Charlotte +1. There's been no movement. So 1-point dogs after losing by 16 at home. I mean, this is pretty tricky stuff. Let's take a look at the total here because we just see him going so high. We're at 239.5. This opened up at 241. It got up to 242. Got up to 242
Yeah.
before there was buyback. This is legit buyback on the under down to 239.5. And when we get to the cash flow for this spot, you have 44% of the tickets and 56% of the cash on the Hornets, thinking that the Hornets are going to bounce back. And then you have 77% of tickets on the over, but just 55% of cash. Some big bets must have come in on the under when it got up to 242. 23% of tickets and 45% of cash on this under. Take it away for us here, LJ. Game 2 on the 9-game slate. Hornets, Wizards, Capital One.
Yeah, Jimmy, I jumped on that under last night when it opened at 242, but now that it's dropped down, that's kind of scaring me. I don't know. You're right. The Hornets may be a bye today. They got embarrassed last game. And when we're looking at these teams, they put up points. Both these teams are at the bottom of a points scoring per game, giving them like 120 points. Now, if I believe the Hornets are going to bounce back on the road versus the Wizards that plays no defense, I don't know if I can trust the market on that, Jimmy. Y'all know that better than me. Y'all know I don't really pay attention to that. I just trust my numbers and see where the advantages are. And the fact that you said the Hornets have allowed the last 4 teams, you said, to score 120-some points plus, I'm just going to jump on the Wizards. Over 121.5 team total, minus 110. And I'm just going to sit back and just see if they can get 120 points. I don't care who wins the game. I'm not interested in any one of these teams, but the fact that the Hornets are so horrible defensive-wise, I believe the Wizards could get 122 points on there tonight. And that total hopefully goes over because I took the 242, but I'm not making anything official on the side because it's dropped. But I'm definitely going to take the team total for the Wizards over 121.5, minus 110.
Wow, I don't know. Let's go back. So sorry, the team total. We can give you that 121.5 minus 104. Pinnacle says
Okay.
Pinnacle says they've moved this to 3. Why didn't my site say
Yeah,
that?
I have 3 on my book as well.
Oh my god, I'm on first half. Jesus, I'm so sorry, you guys. My bad. Jesus, I hate giving that information. I'm sorry. It's 3s across the board. My bad. I apologize. 3s across the board. This opened up at 2. We've had a 1-point move to the Wizards. I apologize. We're moving so fast here, and that would have put you guys in a bad situation. All we want to do is give information. So that's the situation. So it's moved a point towards the Wizards from -2 to -3. Our guy North End is saying it's -2.5 though. Still a fishy line. Line here. Do we want to expect or believe in Charlotte on the road? Sometimes when you play in sleepy arenas, it's nice to get out on the road. It's not like Capital One's going to be buzzing with the Wizards. All right, interesting spot here. Team total over 121.5 minus 104 for the Wizards, and we talked about it. No team has scored less than 124 in the last 5 games against the Hornets. We move on to 7:30 p.m. Eastern, and we had Justin McElvey, our guy, and there he is right there, Justin McElvey in the house. He gave us the stacks play of the day. Celtics team total over 120.5. Now, again, Justin doesn't put the average line and the units in it. It's just 95-96. But I imagine, we're sitting here at 191 bets. I imagine 140 of them have been plus lines. So I know it just says 95 and 96, but it's been very impressive what Justin's been doing. And shout out to our guy Justin McElvey. Brooklyn Nets, Boston Celtics 4-4 are the Nets 3-1 on the road. They look good out there against the Celtics 5-2, 2-0 at home at TD Garden in Boston, Massachusetts, and of course Boston coming off that 106-103 loss at Philadelphia. And it was a really fun game to watch. Enormous intensity here. For these Brooklyn Nets, they beat the Clippers on the 3rd game of that homestand. Both teams played on Wednesday night. They took the Clippers out 193 as 5.5-point dogs. And they had lost the 2 previous games. And the first game at home 6 days ago, so it was back on Saturday, was a 124-114 loss at home to the Celtics. 124-114. Let's go over to the injury side of things and see what we are dealing with. By the way, in the Charlotte game, Hayward is a game-time decision. But here we have Ben Simmons out, Cam Thomas out, and Nick Claxton out. All 3 of them out for Brooklyn. So you're going to get a starting lineup of Dinwiddie, Lonnie Walker, Mikal Bridges, Johnson, and then Finney Smith at the 5. He's lucky that he only has to look at Porzingis and not somebody with shoulders. Drew Holiday, Derek White, Jalen Brown, Tatum ready to go for these Boston Celtics. Let's get into the line history here for this one. We are sitting with Boston as 11.5-point favorites. This opened up at 11. It didn't open up at Pinnacle till 7:25 a.m. That obviously they wanted to not put out a small number, knowing that who was going to be available for Brooklyn. From a total side of things here, we are dealing with a 227.5. This opened up at 226. It got up to 228.5. It's a little bit of buyback to 227.5. And from a total side of things, from a cash side of things, you have 43% of the tickets and 59% of the cash on the Celtics. And then you have 38% of the tickets and 56% of the cash on the under. I guess got it to 228.5, and the Sharps came in and hammered it. Take it away for us here, LJ, my guy, Net Celtics.
Yeah, Jimmy, everybody knows that last year I didn't bet Celtics games. I just felt a feeling of they only do one thing, and that's shoot the three. And guess what, Jimmy? They're still shooting that three-point shot. And the Nets also shoots a lot of three-point shots. I believe these two teams are top 5 in the league at three-point attempts a game. So they put up a lot of shots. They put up a lot of points. But you just said that Brooklyn is missing 3 of their starters tonight going into this Celtics game. And the Celtics are at home, which they play their best basketball. So I'm going to not do that theory this year, Jimmy. I'm going to be invested in the Celtics because I like Drew Holiday. They are a different team now. So I'm going to be looking to bet on them. And it's going to start today. So we're going to take the Boston Celtics first half. I don't know what the number is, but they are +9 first half, which is second behind Minnesota. And the fact that Brooklyn is missing all their players, they were -3 in the first half their last 3 games. So I believe they're going to be worse now since they're missing a lot of scoring from their rosters. So I believe the Celtics handle them early. I'm not interested in taking the 12-point spread because I just believe that's too many points at the end of the game. Who knows if the Celtics are even going to care about beating them by 12. But early part of the game, this is where the Celtics come out strong. First quarter, too, I believe both of these teams are averaging 30-plus points in the first quarter. But I was looking at the first quarter over, but I don't want to take it now since Brooklyn is missing all those players. So they could surprise the Celtics early and stay within the game in the first quarter. But once that second quarter come in and Celtics go to their bench and the Brooklyn has to go to their bench, I think the Celtics have the advantage going into halftime. So they should be up at the half by that spread. So I'm on the Celtics first half spread. I don't know what number you got.
You have a choice, -6.5, -116, or -7, -110. Actually, you know what? I should find out exactly what it is -7 at Pinnacle. They're saying it's 110, but it might be better than that. So let me just move over there quickly to first half at Pinnacle. So -6.5 at -116, or -7 at -106. That makes more sense.
You could do a 16, 4.5. That's 6.5. Sorry, yeah.
Oh, it's all good. Okay, locked in -6.5, -116 for LJ. We move on. 8 p.m. Eastern. We have the New Orleans Pelicans 4-4, 2-2 on the road at the Houston Rockets 4-3, 4-1 at home. We're at Toyota Center in Houston, Texas. LJ's Houston, Texas in the house, and they've been making you money. They've been making you money. 4 straight wins for the Rockets after 3 straight losses. Getting their shit together. Pelicanos on the other side dealing with injuries, and a nice-looking start has gone away very quickly. Let's go over these injuries, and there are injuries for the Rockets as well. Thompson out. He's been out for a while, but Sengun is a game-time decision. Herbert Jones is a game-time decision, and they got B.I. back, but Troy Murphy, C.J. McCollum, and Grand Theft Alvarado all out for the Pelicanos. Pelicanos coming off their 3rd straight loss on Wednesday. They lost 122-101 at Minnesota. I mentioned in the show, I was wondering, because we've seen all these teams step up without their stars last year, and whether this was going to continue this year, and we'll get an idea with how Brooklyn does. But I was like, I wonder if Pelicans +3.5 is a possible spot. And they didn't look bad in that first quarter. They did look bad in the first 6 minutes of it, but they came back. They ended up losing it by 4. I think it was 4, so they wouldn't have covered that first quarter. But then the Wolves just ran away with it. The Rockets coming off dismantling the Lakers at home. and it's stupid that I wasn't on it because I always tell you guys about Game 4 and Game 5 of a 6-game homestand, and I was right in Game 4 of the homestand. This is Game 5 of a homestand. It's a great place to be, but there's no different than the last game, except it's a good opponent. The last game, they just smoked Sacramento by 25 points. Was that going to be a letdown spot? No, it wasn't because, LeBron was in town. Let's take a look at the line history here for this one. Move to full game so I don't look like an ass clown. And here we go. We have Houston at -1.5. They open up at -2.5. It goes to -3. And then 25 minutes ago, we have big buyback, a 1.5 move towards the Pelicanos. Then we move over to the total in this one. Total-wise, we're sitting at 220. This opened up at 218.5. It's gone up a 1.5. So very interesting market moves. Let's go to the cash flow and see what it's telling us. It says that 75% of the tickets and 91% of the cash are on the Rockets. So why on earth was there a 1.5 move back? And then 27% of tickets and 41% of cash is on the under. 27 and 41. So bigger bets coming in on the under. And we have seen that under go from 218.5 to 220, gone up a 1.5. So very confusing market analysis. Take it away for us here, Pelicans. Rock.
Yeah, it is a confusing market, but Jimmy, I don't care about the market. You already know where I'm going, so you might as well write it down. Trill OG play of the day. Rockets first half -0.5, 4-0 against the spread in their last 4 games at home, crushing it, plus 17-point margin in the first half, their last 3 games. This is where the Rockets play their best, at home, in front of their crowd. And it's a new attitude because we got Udoka coaching this young team now. We got a new team. We got Van Fleet. We got Dylan Brooks. He can guard the best player on the other team. Not to say that he's just going to shut him down, but he bothered LeBron the other night. And LeBron just gave up for the most part. But he knows he's wounded now. He doesn't have Anthony Davis. And they're not in sync right now. So I can understand that he wasn't going to go all out for that game, because it just wasn't worth it. The Rockets had the momentum through that game from the tip-off to the end. And I believe it's going to continue tonight. With the injuries that the Pelicans have, the Rockets are going to take advantage of that roster. Now, Sagoon being questionable is a cause for concern. I hope he plays because he's a real important factor in that offense, because it kind of goes through him like sort of how Denver uses Jokic. We use Sagoon like that. You know what I'm saying? He can dish off the ball, and find players to get good shots. Jalen Green's been playing well. He's averaging 20-plus points at home this year. So I feel confident that the Rockets will take care of business like they've been doing these last 4 games at home, covering that first half spread. So Trilogy play of the day, Rockets -0.5 first half.
You got it locked in. Rockets first half -0.5, -105. Do you not find this spread at 1.5 fishy?
Yeah, it is kind of fishy, but I'm not going to trust the whole game. I'm just going to trust where the Rockets play their best in that first half. They have the momentum, the home crowd's behind them, and I'm just going to trust that they will be up by 1 at halftime.
Are they filling up the Toyota Center these days?
Yes, definitely. It's a new attitude. I'm telling you, new aura, new environment. We got the cancer out. KPJ, he's gone. He was a bad cancer to that team. Now we have Jalen Green. He can develop now. We have Van Fleet. He can distribute. You know about Van Fleet. I don't have to tell you about him. Great piece to our team. And like I said, Dylan Brooks, we don't need him to score, just to fit in the other player's best player. And the Rockets getting their players back in the lineup. I believe Udoka has brought a great attitude to this team, just like D'Amico has done with the Texans. Both of our teams right now in Houston are thriving right now, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm enjoying it every moment.
They are. I have a friend. I got to get you to hook up, you guys, to meet up for drinks. A comic out there in Houston, Slade Ham. We toured through the Japan for the American Marines for a few weeks. And He's best friends with Scarface. It's him and Scarface at the bar drinking every night. He just sits there with Scarface drinking every night. He sends me, because I'm a huge Scarface fan since I was young, and he sends me pictures and stuff nonstop. I'm supposed to be years ago. I was developing a script for Scarface.
Really?
Well, it was just like drunken talk, but but watching him and through with the Texans was just heartbreak. Like, it was just nonstop sadness, and just so it's nice to see. Now, I don't give compassion to the Rockets. You had your fucking time dream, and I don't know, whatever. But for the Texans, I'm happy you guys are rolling. Let's move on. Next up for us, 8 p.m. Eastern, the Utah Jazz, 2-7, 0-5 on the road at the Memphis Grizzlies, 1-7, 0-4 at home. The Jazz are playing so bad, it's shocking, and a big wake-up call for that group that looked so good last year. It's one thing when nobody expects anything of you, but when there are expectations for you, that's when things start getting difficult. FedEx Forum in Memphis, Tennessee. We have the Jazz losers of 4 straight, and they have allowed in succession in this 4-game losing streak. At home, 115 to Orlando. At Minnesota, 123. At Chicago, 130. If you watch that Bulls offense, can you imagine them putting out 130 points? At Indiana, 134. Now, maybe we can give you a bit of an excuse for that because the Pacers are playing at a very high level. The Grizzlies beat Portland, and then I was the ass clown who thought maybe they could develop some momentum. That was on my 2-2 day on Wednesday. They lose 108-102, and they got out of the gates very poorly in that game and did not look good. Let's take a look at the line history here for this one. We have Memphis right now at -4 and -5. There are some 4.5s. Will Hill is a 4.5. This is at -5. This opened up at -4. We've had a 1-point move over towards Memphis. God, are the Grizzlies? Sorry, are the Jazz this bad that this Grizzlies team would be taking money? This total is sitting at 229.5. It opened up at 228.5. We got up to 230. There's been a little bit of buyback, and then from a cash flow standpoint, here we have. Here we go. We have 72% of the tickets and 78% of the cash on the Grizzlies. And then we have 80% of tickets on the under. We don't have any cash flow. Take it away for us here, LJ, Jazz, Grizz.
Yeah, Jimmy, both of these teams are bad. And I really didn't dive into this game because there's no way that I'm laying points with Memphis right now. Considering they don't have Jai, I believe their offense is in shambles. They don't have Steven Adams clogging that paint. So there's no telling when Memphis is going to get it together. They're probably just going to have to suffer out until Ja can get back to see if they can save their season. But I think they're going to be behind the 8 ball pretty well that Ja's not in that lineup. But as far as the Jazz, you're right, man. The Jazz are horrible. And away from Utah is where they're worse. So I didn't pick any side in this game, Jimmy, but I am going to take a prop because the Utah Jazz are tied with the Portland Trailblazers with the most opponents' blocks in the NBA so far. I think they're allowing around 7 or 8 a game. And we do know on Memphis, you have Jerry Jackson Jr., who's at the top in block shots in the league the past 2 seasons. I believe Memphis is top 5 in blocks right now, averaging like maybe 6 or 7 a game. So easy play for me, Jimmy. We're going to take Jerry Jackson's 3+ blocks plus 100. I believe he gets 2.5. I believe he's going to be in that paint. He's going to have to score as well, too. But the fact that they're at home and Utah is so vulnerable on that defensive side, I believe that Jerry Jackson can get 3 blocks tonight. Before it's taken aside, I'm not interested because both of these teams are bad offensively. But defensively, Memphis is good. So they should get the win because of Smart. Look at his steals as well. I'm not going to put his steals out as a play, but everybody can look at his 2+ steals too because I think he's averaging that. So they're going to play defense tonight on Utah. Laurie Marketing as well. Look at him as a double-double contender on Memphis as well. But as far as my play today, Utah gives up a lot of blocks. So Jared Jackson, over 2.5 blocks, plus 100 is my prop for this game.
You are locked in with that at plus 100, over 2.5 blocks for Jaren Jackson at even money. We move on to the Frost Bank Center in San Antonio, Texas, a city we will all be in here in counting down the days. We'll be there in like 5 months. Can't wait.
Yeah.
Wolves 5-2, 0-2 on the road. Of course, 5-0 at home where they look very good. Spurs 3-5 and 1-2 at home. Now, the great Dennis Garcia, who's in our chat right now, Sky Dragon, he mentioned that he was on Wemby under 19.5 points in MSG, and it made perfect sense to me. And no disrespect to Wemby, but go in MSG your first time.
Yeah,
and it's not as easy as it sounds. And
exactly.
he struggled. And then, I messaged Dennis because I wanted to get my day started out. In that first minute and a half, 3 bricks. I was like, let's go. I was so pumped up. I love bricks for whatever reason. And when I messaged him, Dennis said that he's going to bet it every game until Wemby stops. And now this is my word. It's not his. He didn't use his word, but lollygagging around the 3-point line. What the hell is he doing out there? I know you're small, but you got to get dirty. You got to get dirty. He's not been doing that. So Dennis is going to keep betting these Wemby under point totals. Timberwolves have won 4 straight. They're coming off that 122-101 win over the Pelicans. That was on the heels of that overtime win over Boston. The only time I had them, because I'm just 7-6 in this young season, up 0.4 units, but was against the Nuggets. I had them against the Nuggets, and that was the market was just screaming that was the play. Spurs now have lost 3 straight. And now they looked good and had some help, but they look good against the Raptors, losing 123-116 in overtime. But then they lose by 41 at the Pacers and lose by 21 at the Knicks. So this is the team that's very thankful to be home. Let's take a look at the line history here, as well as who's in and out of the lineup. Of course, we had Brizzy talking about Walker Kessler being out for the Jazz. Here for this spot, we have just Clark and McLaughlin out for Minnesota. So it's in San Antonio healthy group. From a spread perspective, you have the Spurs plus 6.5. That's where they opened. They did get to 7 for a very short period of time, but they're back at 6.5. There's been no movement at all on it. And then from a total perspective, we are sitting here with the Spurs at 220, or the total at 224.5. It's opened up at 225.5. It just dropped to 224.5 39 minutes ago. And then when we look at the cash flow here for this one, we have 18% of the tickets and 9% of the cash on the Spurs. And the market's not moving. And it got up to 7 and dropped right back to 6.5. This is a very appealing spot to me. The Spurs get their asses kicked twice. They come home. They regroup. The Timberwolves are who we think they are, a very talented group who will shine at home. But when things get difficult, where they're going to be. Now, I'm not saying they're going to get difficult in San Antonio, but this is a spot where they could be taking things lightly. This total has 48% of tickets and 86% of cash on the under. I'm very interested in the Spurs here. And Billy Britt says Gobert on Wemby sounds horrible. Yes, thank you, DG. Says he didn't use that word, but it makes the point. So, yeah, it's fine. Take it away for us here, LJ. Wolves, Spurs.
Yeah, Jimmy, I'm going to take Minnesota first half. They're number 1 in the league, +9 first half point margin. On the road, they're +8. Now, I believe they've only played 2 road games, I believe. So that's not a good best sample size for that. But the fact that they're covering these spreads, last 3 games, first half margin +10. San Antonio, first half margin -4, last 3 -6. So they're struggling in the first half. So I'm just going to trust Minnesota early and often, which they do best. I believe that Anthony Edwards is an all-star, possibly all-NBA player. He's putting up like 25 a game. And Minnesota plays defense as well. If I'm not mistaken, let me look at their defensive efficiency. Minnesota, number 1 in defensive efficiency. I knew that. I've had that stat in my brain. I just wanted to fact check that. But yeah, Minnesota, number 1 in defensive efficiency. So I'm just going to keep betting on them in the first half until they show me something different. Now, the full game, the Spurs could come back in that second half and cover that margin. So I wouldn't be surprised because Minnesota tends to die down in the second half when they build big leads up because they could score 70-plus points in the first half and feel good about it, but then they'll come back in the second half and score maybe 50 points. So it's just that in that first part of the game is where they're motivated to play and smack these teams in the mouth. So I'm going to keep trusting that trend. I'm going to take them the first half. Because like I mentioned, San Antonio is small for the most part. And I believe that they can defend off Wembley, make him uncomfortable, Gobert clogging the paint, protecting the rim. Minnesota should have an easy first half cash, but that second half going into the full game, San Antonio could slip up and cover that 6.5. So I'm just going to trust early. Minnesota minus the 3.5. I said first half. Yeah, minus 112.
We can get you the -3 for Minnesota first half, minus 109.
Okay.
I want the Spurs full game, and I'm not betting them now. If they don't move at all, that means it's a really good bet.
Mm-hmm.
I think it could move back to 7. I mean, it just feels like this is a spot where the public is going to be all over the Wolves. Right now, you have 82% of tickets and 91% of the cash. I'm going to be on the Spurs full game. I will not be betting this after the show. It'd be nice to get a 7. I'm not going to be afraid even if it's a 7.5. Now, if we get up to 8 or something like that, maybe I'll have some trepidation. But at this point,
yeah,
I like this very much. Timberwolves first half -3 for LJ, and I'm going to be on the Spurs full game. Let's move on. 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Next up, we have the Clip Show. This road show with these old timers, the seniors. It does not look good on the road. Thus far. Let's pull it up here. Some of these it feels like it's like a kid putting together a roster of their favorite players.
Yeah.
It's just fanboy stuff here, and this Clippers roster is hilarious. 3 games on the road. The Lakers game doesn't really count, so 2 games on the road. They lose 111-97 at New York on Monday. Then Wednesday they lose 193 at Brooklyn. The Mavericks had a rude awakening by the Toronto Raptors at home. It was as much fun as I've had watching a basketball game before. I was very, very proud of this Raptors group. So the Mavericks coming off a little wake-up call, their first home loss of the year, a legitimate bounce-back spot for them. Let's take a look at the line history here for this one. We have first half. Sorry, let's move over to full game. We have Dallas sitting here at -1 and -101. They opened up at -2. They got up to -2.5. And now there's been real legit buyback to the Clippers. Let's take a look at the total here. This total is sitting at 236.5. 236.5. This opened up at 231.5. My goodness. We've gone up 5 points, and that over 236.5 is juiced. Are we going to see a 237? Chosen One asking if Lively is back for the Mavs, and he's a game time decision.
Game time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Him and Kleber are game time decisions right now at this point. Let's get over to the cash flow here. I wonder, are there big bets on the Clippers? Is that why the market's moving there? And the answer to that is no. There is public on them, 53% of the tickets, but just 25% of the cash. You go down to money line on this one, you have 17% of the tickets on the Clippers and 16% of the cash. Why would there be a 1.5 move or whatever it's being, 2 points at some spots, back to the Clippers? On the total side of things, 54% of the tickets and 39% of cash on the over. Could that move be because Derek Lively is not available and that's being whispered about? Wild shit. Take it away here for us, LJ. Clips, Mavs.
Yeah, it's a lot of uncertainty in this game for me. I couldn't get to a side. Clippers, like you just mentioned, they're playing 2K over there. You know, all the homeboys want to be with each other. They all grew up in LA. So it's only fitting that they're on the same team. You know, they're all a bunch of babies, in my opinion. They haven't lived up to their expectations besides Kawhi. You know, I kind of put Kawhi. He's been hurt. I'm not going to say Kawhi doesn't play. He's just the fact that he's been hurt. But Paul George, Westbrook, Harden, they've all lived, you know, they haven't lived up to their expectations, to me, in my opinion. So I'm going to have to wait to see them play together in order for me to try to key in on something that I want to bet them on. Now, I look at them at home in the third quarter coming out of halftime. That's just something to keep in mind for the Clippers. That's where they play well. But I have to see them with Harden now since they've shaken up their roster for the most part. As far as Dallas, you really only have 3 players that give you points. You have Luka, you have Kyrie, and you have Hardaway Jr. coming off the bench. So do they have enough offensive power to compete with the Clippers? The fact that they have 4 players that can give you 20-plus points. So I don't know how this game is going to go. I usually look at Luka at home. You know, his PRA is usually around 50. So I usually take that too, but I'm just going to stay off, But I am going to take a prop, something that's been cashing consistently with the Clippers. And we're going to go with Paul George, +2+ steals, and I believe it's at -126. He's averaging 2.5 steals on the year, and he plays defense. He likes to play the passing lanes, and a lot of these guys now can play off the ball. They can take turns of who's guarding the other, player on the other team. So they can switch off a lot. So it's a lot of opportunities for them, to get their stats. But I'm just going to stick to Paul George right now because he's been getting those steals pretty much every game. You could probably ladder it up to 3. I wouldn't be mad at you with the 3, but we're just going to stay safe. He's averaging 2.5 steals on the year. So over 1.5 steals, -126 for Paul George. But far as the side, I'm just going to stay off because I have to watch the Clippers play, and I have to see Dallas have another score that's going to contribute besides Luka and Kyrie in that starting lineup.
Yeah, and the move towards the Clippers is fishy. I can understand nobody wanting to back them on the road here. Fanatical Jim has an interesting way of doing it. Clippers first half, Mavericks second half in full game.
That's a good look.
It's an interesting way of handling it. Let's move on. 2 games left here on our show. 10 p.m. Eastern. LA Lakers 3-5, 0-5 on the road at the Phoenix Suns 4-4, 1-2 at home at Footprint Center in Phoenix, Arizona. I watched how much of that Bulls Suns game? I mean, there's so many games going on. I had to have watched halfway through the third quarter. I probably came in and watched the fourth quarter and watched overtime. I cannot believe how bad did the Bulls play not to beat the Suns. The way I see this Suns team right now is very, very beatable with Booker out. I don't care with Beal in. It wasn't like they looked that much better with Beal in. And Kevin Durant, I'm like, this is the first time in my life where I've watched them being like, you look old. I've never felt that ever before watching. And then when the whole game was on the line, tied 107, and 15 seconds he had, DeMar playing iso ball, which is horrific to watch, and then Durant doing the same thing. Durant giving himself such a difficult shot. The rest of the team just putting their head down like this because they know the ball's not coming to them.
Yeah.
It was ugly. Grayson Allen, with skill, but making just boneheaded plays. Bates Diop being in charge of delivering. Nurkic, not going to the hole when you need him to. Like, I think this is a very beatable team. Now, Antonio Davis game time decision here. The Lakers do not look good. The Russell, Reeves, Prince, James, Davis. I mean, that lineup is not one that I really believe in. So here we go. Lakers have lost 3 straight on this road trip. They lose at Orlando 120-101, lose to Miami by a point, and then get destroyed by LJ's Houston Rockets. Suns had a pretty decent road trip. I mean, they didn't look that bad against Philly, losing 112-100. They beat Detroit pretty soundly, 120-106, and then they got past Chicago in overtime somehow. Let's take a look at the line history here for this spot. We have the Suns opening up at +3.5. That's exactly where they are right now. They have not moved off this number 3.5 over at Pinnacle. There's been times the Lakers has become juiced. That's about it. From a total standpoint here, we are sitting at 224.5. This is a juice to the over. This opened up at 222.5, so we had a 2-point move to the over. Then from a cash flow standpoint here, you have 26% of the tickets and 41% of cash on the Lakers. I immediately find this appealing. I shouldn't say hate, but I do not want to back them here, but I immediately find them appealing. Line not moving, public all over the Suns. I watched the Suns look very pedestrian, regardless of whether Beal was on the floor or not. And the Lakers just got completely embarrassed. So take it away for us here, LJ. Lake Show, Suns.
Yeah, this is nice little rivalry here. I like watching Suns and Lakers games because they don't like each other for the most part. And you just mentioned, as far as the Suns, how pedestrian they're looking. It's just that they have to get their full roster in for us to see the ability of what the Suns can do. I believe once they get their players in, Booker's healthy, Beal, Durant, everybody can fit into their role. I believe that we can really see how valuable they're going to be as far as having a championship run this year. I believe they still need to make one more move at that point guard because they're at the bottom of the league in turnovers. They're giving up the ball. And the reason why is because they don't have a definitive player that can take that ball and be like, okay, I'll set everybody up. They're switching off with Durant. Grayson Allen brings the ball up. Gordon's bringing the ball up. Now Bill's back. So they don't have anybody consistently that can bring that ball up in order to initiate the offense. So, but I believe they will get it together. They just need some time. But on the other side, the Lakers, I don't understand what they're doing. I saw them last night, and I believe if it wasn't for LeBron even trying last night, the Lakers didn't even need to get off the bus for the most part. And Anthony Davis is going to continue to be an issue with him being healthy. I don't know how long they're going to last. I don't know how long he's going to be on his team. But LeBron James is going to steady be frustrated having to depend on Anthony Davis to be healthy for this season. So all that said, Jimmy, if y'all know the numbers, the Lakers are the worst team in the first quarter. I believe they are a -9, ranked 30th in the league at first quarter point margin. Now, the Suns +2.5, that's top 10. So that's my play, Jimmy. Suns, first quarter, I believe it's -1, I believe. I'm not sure. You can check the number, but I just believe they just come out and smack the Lakers in the mouth in the first quarter. Now, if the Lakers can figure out something later on in the game, that's up to them. But I don't know who's playing. I don't know who's going to be a game-time decision. You just have LeBron. You have D'Angelo Russell, and that's pretty much it for the most part for scoring on the Lakers consistently-wise. But I believe the Suns at home will take care of business for the most part. I'm not going to take the 3.5. I have to see them, at their full roster in order for them to bet them full game. I like taking these teams in situations where they play the best and you have a disadvantage. That first quarter is a disadvantage for the Lakers. So, Suns, first quarter, -1. I believe that's the number. And that's all I'm going to take in this game. And I'm just going to watch and see if they handle business for the rest of the game.
Can we trust that the Brow is going to be on the floor tonight? Can we trust that?
No, we can't trust it. I mean, what is he showing us that he's going to be consistently healthy? He's already hobbling now. So I don't see any way that we can trust Anthony Davis to be consistently healthy throughout this season.
Can you guys also jump in on this in the chat? Because the market's telling me he's in. The market is telling me that they're alive. If I sit here tonight with just the Spurs and the Lakers, both two teams coming off getting absolutely embarrassed, and Davis is in, I would really like my card. Both, +6.5 or 7 with the Spurs, +3.5 here with the Lake Show. If it's tip off and the Brow is sitting there in fucking khakis, I'm going to lose my shit. I just cannot handle that. I cannot handle having money on a situation and then being blindsided by him not being there.
Don't be surprised. I'll tell you, don't be surprised.
Wine Time says he thinks AD will play Wednesday. I feel like this is the right spot here, but goddamn, Andrew G calling a nickname for AD is Street Clothes. I can feel the anger already coming up, and I haven't even bet yet. Okay, Suns first quarter -1, -107 for LJ, and I want the Lakers full game here, +3.5. Final game on the board. We head to the Golden One Center in Sacramento, California, a city that was very excited about their basketball team when the season started. That has gone away because of De'Aaron Fox being out. Also Canadian boy Trey Lyles out, not helpful. But De'Aaron Fox being out. And Davion Mitchell, I thought, was a quality backup point guard at one point last year. Really quality. And, God, it is sometimes the lights can get a little too bright. Kevin Herter, Barnes, Murray, Sabonis there. For OKC, you got Shea, Giddey, Dort, Williams, and Chet. Let's move on to the situation here. Thunder have won 2 straight. They finished off that homestand by winning 2 games. They had losses to the Pelicans and the Warriors, and then beat the Hawks comfortably by 9 and the Cavs by 8. Kings stopped that 3-game losing streak. You saw them twice in Houston with L's, and they lost, or they beat Portland in overtime, 121-118 on Wednesday evening. Let's get over to the line history here, and then put the plan together. Line history-wise, I'm still on first quarter, so let me move over to the full game. Our final game on today's show. I love it. Jose thought we'd get to 4 hours today. We're about to clean up at the 3-hour mark. Jose, I'm sure he's smiling right now and proud. Suns open. Oh, sorry. Back to Suns. The Kings open up here at +2.5. They're now sitting at +2. A half-point move towards Sacramento. Kind of a strange move there. Then from a total scenario, we're sitting at 231.5. This opened up at 226.5. A 5-point move to the over. A huge move to the over. Billy Brisbane in the chat chanting over, and same with DG. So do you guys think even at 231.5 that this is still movable on? Opening up at 226.5, absolutely wild. Wrist ain't breezy saying the fake ass pump fake isn't working versus Nurkic. I don't think Nurkic is anybody to worry about. I really don't. He's not physical. He can't hurt you. I don't find him a tough battle down low.
He fits with the Suns better though than he did with Portland though. Yeah. I do agree with that.
Sure. But I mean, we need Arvidas Sabonis. You need somebody with shoulders that can bang down low. Here, so we have the cash flow in this one. Cash flow wise for our final game on the card, you have 90% of the tickets and 68% of the cash on the Thunder. We've had a half-point move away from them. Very, very fishy. On the money line, you have 87% of the tickets and 92% of the cash on the Thunder. 87-92. That's interesting. All that money on the Thunder money line. We know that it's not unless you're betting a large amount of money. It's not the sharps who are going to be sitting there and taking a juiced situation. This opened up with Oklahoma City at -138. This morning at 7:42, they got to -148. Right now, they're -117. That's a big, big move on the Sacramento Kings money line. Take it away for us here, LJ. Final game on the board, Thunder Kings.
Yeah, I didn't have a side on this one. I don't like the fact De'Aaron Fox is out of that lineup for the Kings. That's the only way that I would look at to bet them for the most part. And OKC, I'd rather bet them as a dog. I don't really like betting them as a favorite, even though they still could win. I'm not saying that they're not capable of winning the game. It's just that I like to take them in a situation where they've been trending the best, and that's as a dog. So I didn't really dive into this game for as a side, but I am taking a prop. And everybody should be taking this prop too. We know OKC Thunder Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is top 5 in the league in scoring. I think his points is at 30.5 -115. I'm going to play that because the guy's averaging 33 points right now. I believe he's averaging 33 on the road. So we know he's going to be the scorer. We know he's going to have to score against this team. And the fact that De'Aaron Fox is out, that just gives more motivation for him to take advantage of that backcourt. So I don't see anybody checking him on the Kings. Sabonis doesn't have to concentrate on rebounding and defending the paint. So that's the other player on that team that could give them trouble. So I'm just going to trust that Shai gets his average, man. He's averaging 30. I believe the number's at 30.5, I believe. So -115. Over 30.5 points for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. That's my prop.
Let's grab that for you. What a fishy line. Is anybody in the chat think it's so fishy that they're going to move on Sacramento? Because I can't imagine anybody wanting Sacramento, and you have a 30-cent move on the money line. I mean, if this was just market, not X's and O's, you'd say, well, Sacramento's going to win this basketball game, and public's going to take it in the drink hole. That's what you would say. When we take a look at the player prop here for Shai, let me see if we can get a better line here. Not okay. The second, let's see. Shea. Can anybody else find a Shea prop? I'd love to get the down. Shea points. Yeah, 30.5. It's just a minus 129 here. So you got a minus 115. Oh, minus 112 there, Billy found. Okay, great job, Billy. Thank you.
Okay.
That helps. God damn. I just I can't do it. I'm not gonna do it, but this is so fishy. This huge move towards Sacramento and everybody on the Thunder.
Yep.
I mean,
With no Fox.
did Davian look any better last game? Let's see. I just want to take one last look. I know we got to put a bow on this here, but in that last game, what did Mitchell do? He didn't even start.
Nope.
Wow. And then he played great because they didn't start him. Wow. Only turned the ball over twice, 28 minutes. 3 for 4 from 3, 6 from 9 from the field. Wow, they didn't even start him. They started Keon Ellis instead of him. Wow. Wild. And Keon played 21 minutes. Holy shit. Okay. Coin saying Sacramento 1-3 straight up and against the spread without Fox. That is okay.
Yep.
I'm gonna have to sit with this. I don't know if I can move on it now, but this is just fisheroo, man. Okay, great job, LJ. Let's review all of LJ's action. LJ, thank you for getting here fast when we needed you. For LJ on this NBA card, we have him on the Sixers first half. minus 4.5, minus 115. He's on the Wizards team total over 121.5, minus 104. He's on the Celtics first half, minus 6.5, minus 116. And Justin McElvey stacks play today's on the Celtics team total over 120.5. He's on the Rockets first half, minus a half. That is the Trill OG play of the day. He's on Jaren Jackson over 2.5 blocks at even money. He's on the Timberwolves first half, minus 3, minus 109. I will be on the Spurs tonight. Full game. I'm not going to be betting that after the show. I'm going to wait a bit and see what happens with that line. I prefer a 7. I don't want to pay for it. LJ's on Paul George over 1.5 steals at minus 126. He's on the Suns first quarter minus 1 at minus 107. I will be on the Lakers plus 3.5 here. And I imagine that when Davis is announced in, it probably moves to 3. But I mean, it's implied in the market that he's in. So I should bet that here afterwards. And then he's on Shea over 30.5 points at minus 112. Shea's uncle is a dad at Ella's school that I hang out with, and he's a good guy.
Okay.
He's a good guy. He goes by the name
Nice.
of Foots. He goes by the name of Foots because he got big old feet. Foots. And our daughter's in class. So there you go. That is the NBA for today. Thank you, LJ, for rocking with us. It means the world, man. Great job. Great job today. Love capping with you on these Fridays. Have a great weekend. And please follow LJ on Twitter at LJ Sports Media. LJ, any last words for the Capper Sport in the show?
Yeah, man. Best chat in the game. Keep supporting. Keep shouting us out. Pub Sports Radio. This is what we do, man. We try to get y'all money. We put in the work, and we want y'all to cash. So till next Friday, Jimmy, I'll see you then, and let's cash.
Let's do it. There he is, LJ from H-Town. Let's do a review of all action here on the show. Our guests went 6-0 yesterday. 6-0, our guests, and we want more glory. Need more glory. The Chosen One in the house. Chosen One gave us Wolves minus 6.5 and the Thunder. Oh, so he is on the Thunder. Eh? So interesting. Chosen One, does the market move concern you at all? I wonder what you think of that spot with the Thunder. Be very interested. Londo gave us his best bet at UFC. Pavlovich KO at plus 115. Fap win and his Vat of Lube gave us a couple spots. He gave us a horse racing spot. He's also on San Diego State. Tonight. Sean Pulliam looking at laddering Malik Monk threes. Thank you, Juan Ruiz, my man. I love today's show. We moved briskly. We had an enormous amount of games, and we moved briskly. We didn't start out briskly, though. And Jose had every right to be a little concerned by our pace after we broke down the CFL playoffs. Bobano's on the Alouettes plus 11 at minus 105. I don't know if I can get there. I've not heard not one person on the Argonauts. And it's moved 1.5 to it. And now it's this number. Who wouldn't want who wouldn't want the Alouettes at plus 11? Don't you feel like the junkie and the dealer's got a little fucking bag of crack right there, and you're reaching for it, and he keeps pulling it back, and next thing you know, danger. That's what it feels like. It feels like you're reaching for crack. Alouettes plus 11. But the Argos team total under 31.5, I feel like that could be a valid bet for me. I think it could, but goddamn, do I want the Alouettes plus 11? I almost want to see it move in the Argos direction. It's just so fishy that not one person is on the Argos at this number. Fishy, man. Bobano is on the over 49 in the Lions money line, the Western Conference Final. I'm on the Bombers minus 4.5. I'm not yet. I'm going to be on Bombers minus 4.5 and the Bombers team total over. And I have to hit this again. Look, I'm a Lions fan. I've been kind of hard on them this year because they're so good and their defense fell apart. But this is the last 2 games possibly, or the last game for this group of Winnipeg. That's it. The last. And that means something. And these games are fought in the trenches on the line of scrimmage. And when you know the man that you're lining up next to is possibly playing the final game of his career, and you're certainly playing the final game of your career fighting beside him, that means something. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it won't on Saturday, but I'm going to expect the Bombers to show their class with this group. Bobano's on the Sabres minus 115, the draw plus 370 in the over 6.5 in Minnesota Buffalo. Calgary, Toronto Maple Leafs. It's my only look in NHL tonight, man. These goddamn Leafs. This price is getting lower and lower and lower, and I'm falling for this goddamn trap. And I have a unit and a half on it. Oh, sorry. Yes, yeah, unit and a half. I was going to say unit and a quarter, but no, a unit and a half on it. That's the Leafs minus 1 for me. Bobano's on the draw in Hurricanes Panthers. He's on the over 6 and same game parlay with Devils over 5.5. And the spreadsheet play today from Ron Crawford is the Devils minus 1. I'll be watching that with great interest to see how the Devils handle. And I'm so happy because in my hockey pool, I could pick Jack Hughes or Mitch Marner, and I picked Marner because I can't trust Hughes playing 82 games. And then Hughes came out, electric, and I was like, oh, what kind of mistake did I make? Sharks, Knights, we are off, and Bobano's on the Ducks at plus 116. I'm very interested. There's so many market moves. You put all this work into the card, and then you see all these lines that are so fishy, and you just want to, it adds these layers of excitement and interest. In college football, Bobano's on the over 66 in North Texas SMU. Wyoming UNLV, he stayed off, and I'm off. Bobano's on Temple plus 7.5 in the over 68. He's on Utah plus 10 at minus 119. He's on the over 65 in Oklahoma State UCF. He's on Virginia in the over 57.5. CMAC also gave us West Virginia. Both on West Virginia. Sorry, I said Virginia, West Virginia. Bobano's on Colorado State minus 3. That's going up against Fat Win and his vat of lube. Very dangerous. Crossing a man with a vat of lube. You just pray he doesn't use the lube on you. Over 65.5 in Gators, Tigers. Then we have Tori Coker giving us the best bet in NCAA basketball. Temple first half minus 3. Bobano's on Arizona plus 5.5 minus 106. He's on. You know what? I want to touch on a couple of things in college football very quickly. I'm extremely interested in Penn State. So interested in them. But I feel very nervous about it. And I'm interested in Illinois, but maybe that's too many points. And, I don't want to go up against CMAC on Indiana. And I don't want to go up against CMAC and Bobano at all. And no, it wouldn't be Bobano on Michigan. Who gave us Michigan? Daby Cab. I don't want to go up against those guys. So I could just leave them off the board. But now I'm only sitting here with 4 bets in NCAA football. And I don't mind cutting down the quantity of action because that's been working for me lately. But very interested in those 2 spots, man. And then in college basketball, Bobano's Arizona plus 5.5, Florida plus 1.5. He's on Texas A&M plus 2. I'm going to have to move on to Ohio State. It just feels right to me. And then Yale. The thing about Yale here is, are we putting too much emphasis on what we saw from them last year? But, they played a game. Last night we had Portland State, up against a very, we don't know how talented Santa Barbara is, but we know that they, made the tourney last year. They're the Big West champions. But they hadn't played a game yet. And Portland State showed that they had some cohesive action going after, beating Air Force, traveling there and beating them. And so maybe it's helpful. Over 144.5 in San Diego State, BYU. I'm very interested in Tennessee, Wisconsin. He stayed off, and he's on the over 159 in Memphis, Missouri. And then we just talked all the NBA stuff. So there we go. Wow, this was a tough one. We were moving really fast, and this was a tough one, but we got the job done. Thank you guys for everybody in the chat. We have nothing without you guys. Nate Cerna, wrist ain't breezy. North Ender, Sean Pulliam. Nate Cerna on UNLV minus 2.5. North Texas plus 21.5 at minus 170. Tori Coker, Juan Ruiz, Billy Briz is on St. Thomas for college tonight. Sean Pulliam, the chosen one, Justin McElvey, Londo, Coin, Billy Friedrich, Talk Sports with JT, Sky Dragon, Rance, Bo Jackson, Londo, Christopher Comentini, Wine Time Sports. Thank you guys. Truly, you guys are what makes this show special. Fanatical Jim, hearing what you guys are on and how you guys are making money. Mike Wilkerson, Equinimus. Thank you guys. What a battle. What a battle this is. And we get great joy out of it. The other thing is we don't really need anything from anybody. We have our action. You can just leave us alone if you'd like. Just leave us alone, and we'll have our action, and we'll be on the roller coaster ride, a wild one. Hopefully it is a great one this evening. Thank you guys so much for your support. Jose, thank you. You are the backbone here of our channel at Pub Sports Radio. Thank you for all that you do, producing all sorts of shows and cutting them all up and sending them out. You work tirelessly on our behalf, and we thank you. All right. It is 2:13 p.m. Friday, November 10th. We're just a few hours away from the fucking bell ringing and the action going in, and we invest our money and we deal with the consequences. Let them be good consequences today, man. Let's get that money. Leche. Hey, Los bookmakers, milk it.